With their brittle bodies, as long as they did not crouch on the ground, it was easy to destroy them. Naturally, this was only limited to Wei Xiaobei. Let alone smashing them to pieces, for any normal person escaping from them would already be considered very lucky. The big question now was what was inside the church. Wei Xiaobei looked at it for a while. He noticed that a portion of the gargoyles would fly away at a certain time, and the amount that returned would decrease. This kept on happening to the point that there were none left. However, gargoyles would also come out from the second floor of the church at certain intervals. Thus, the amount of gargoyles outside the church did not decrease at all. Half an hour had passed. Wei Xiaobei was hesitating whether to continue guarding the place, or quickly leave the place and not waste any more time. Stay, leave, stay, leave. In the end, he decided to leave. The amount of time he had wasted after entering the dust world should already be more than an hour. The distance between the Bai Ta Hill and this place was more than 10 kilometers in reality, but this was still indeterminable in the dust world. When Wei Xiaobei thought about this and was about to leave, the tightly shut doors of the church suddenly slowly opened. A person dressed entirely in black robes walked out. When that person came out, the gargoyles moving all around the place immediately became obedient. They all bowed towards the black-robed person, as if subjects meeting their king. Wei Xiaobei once again returned back to his hiding position and stared at the black-robed person. The black-robed person observed the entire place once and then extended his right hand while holding a rod with a blue gem embedded on it. Keduoima, Sasatina, Emisalishi. Following the strange gibberish that Wei Xiaobei did not understand, the gargoyles immediately busied themselves. They opened their wings and flew towards the small hill. When they landed, they immediately began to consume the soil there until their stomach protruded like a 6-month pregnant woman. Afterwards they returned to the empty land in front of the church, and excreted out the soil. However, the soil on the small hill was yellow-colored. When the gargoyles ate them and pooped them out, the soil had somehow become black. The gargoyles repeated this process of going to the hill and returning to the church, causing the pile of black soil to pile up. When the soil reached the height of a person, the black-robed person waved his rod and a group of buff ash-green-skinned monsters came out from the church. They kowtowed at the black-robed person before immediately gathering at the pile of soil. Then they used their hands like iron shovels and shoveled the dirt into piles. The ash-green-skinned monsters could be considered as skilled workers. After busying themselves, the soil gradually became humanoid-shaped sculptures. After 20 minutes, the monsters had ended up creating a lot of gargoyle statues in front of the church. The monsters' work was very efficient as they had created around 100 gargoyle statues. At this time, the black-robed person walked in front of a statue and slowly drew a circle with his rod on the statue's head. A blue light shot out from the rod and landed on the statue. After a few seconds, the statue began to move. At first it was a bit clumsy, but after a while, their movements were the same as other gargoyles. Then they would open their wings and fly towards the small hill, doing what the other gargoyles were doing. Afterwards, the black-robed person repeated this process, increasing the amount of gargoyles at that place. In just half an hour, the amount of gargoyles that could be seen, including the ones working, had already exceeded 300. Seeing this scene, Wei Xiaobei could not help feeling a chill on his back. According to this trend, the black-robed person could create 15,000 gargoyles per day. These gargoyles were not sacred beetle descendants, nor small monsters like the black beetles. They were 2-star terror creatures. When monsters like this suddenly increase in numbers, even the Xinguang border patroller might not be able to defend against them. Luckily, it appeared that the black-robed person was tired. The blue gem on the rod had lost its light, so the black-robed person immediately returned into the church, disappearing through the doors. Wei Xiaobei did not dare act rashly without thinking. After watching for a bit longer, he quietly left the place. However, he marked the place in his heart and would definitely remember to come back in the future. After walking countless kilometers, Wei Xiaobei could see the Chao family village arch from afar. He immediately turned and walked towards the river. Now that he was here, Wei Xiaobei could be said to be in familiar lands. He followed the previous path he walked to make it to Bai Ta Hill. Other than the giant snake hiding in the river, there were no great dangers. The path onward was smooth. Wei Xiaobei tried to remember things on one hand and observe his surroundings in the other. He was not at the place where the giant snake appeared. He slowed down his footsteps, stooped down his body, and moved along the river bank on all fours while ignoring the pain in his hands and knees from the rock fragments. He was crawling on the ground like a spider in its own territory. Wei Xiaobei decided to use this posture after thoroughly considering things. Even if the snake saw him as prey, he was close to the ground, so it would not be easy for the snake to just swallow him in one bite. His posture was also a good one for dodging critical situations. After all, with Wei Xiaobei's current power, he was not any slower than walking while on all fours. If he were to get used to this posture, his speed might even become faster. This was a truth of the natural world. Running on all fours was a lot faster than running on two legs. What's that? When he was approaching the place of the large snake, a humanoid figure wading in the river had drawn in Wei Xiaobei's attention. Wei Xiaobei's mind that was originally paying attention to his surroundings and recalling information suddenly let out an alarm. He quickly moved through the river bank and leapt up a large boulder. Then he hid himself behind the rock. Wei Xiaobei's warning was not useless. The figure from the river had just walked up the river bank and swept the surrounding a few times. It was a half-naked man. His lower body was only covered by a pair of shorts that were almost about to become cloth strips. He had hair that was an inch long which matched his thin but somewhat muscular body. On his hand was a long tusk that should have come from the boar that Wei Xiaobei had previously seen. Wei Xiaobei focused on this as he doubted where the man found the tusk. It must be known that the giant boar had already been swallowed by the giant snake. Could it be that this guy dived down and picked it up from the excrements of the giant snake? However, even if that was so, the man was bold to the point of astonishing people. It was not that Wei Xiaobei did not dare do this, but the giant boar was only a two-star terror creature. Its tusk was only useful for creating weapons. Compared to his long bow-leg hair great spear, the difference in grade was too big and not worth risking his life for. However, Wei Xiaobei opened his eyes wide the next moment. The man was holding onto a light golden water plant. The fragrance from the plant spread over to him. Wei Xiaobei's mind shook just by smelling the plant. He felt as if his mind had slept for one day and felt refreshed. That plant is definitely a treasure. At this moment, the withered trees around the river bank began to move. They pulled out their roots and slowly moved them towards the river bank. Even the giant withered tree at the center of the forest began to move. Without a doubt, the fragrance had startled the withered trees who did not even move for thousands of years. In truth, the monster trees were not the only ones who began to move. Wei Xiaobei could hear the sound of running from afar. The owners of the running sound were a lot faster than the monster trees. Not long after, a group of 5-meter-tall giant boars appeared. They appeared like running horses that assembled together and charged over. Without a doubt, the giant boars were after the light golden water grass on the man's hand. If he was not worried about exposing himself to the man, Wei Xiaobei would have wanted to use status appraisal in order to understand what kind of treasure the water plant was. Since the monsters were charging towards the man, Wei Xiaobei decided to throw status appraisal at one of the giant boars. Name, Dang Kong. Race, monster boar. Gender, male. Age, 10. Creature rank, 2-star terror. Because there are too many attributes, specially not described. Skills, furious charge, thick hide. Evolution point, X, unable to accumulate evolution points. So it was a Dang Kong. Wei Xiaobei had seen this monster in the internet before. In the ancient times, these were boars that lived in deep ravines, and they were named after their cries. These boars were auspicious boars that brought abundance in the harvest time. Wei Xiaobei's status appraisal did not attract the Dang Kang's attention. They only charged towards the man. On the contrary, the man panicked and placed the water plant into a pouch on his waist. Then he immediately ran towards Wei Xiaobei's direction. This situation could not be helped. In front of him was a group of Dang Kang, on the right side was the group of monster trees, and on the left was the river. The man was probably unwilling to dive into the water a second time. It seemed like the water plant might have been the giant snake's treasure. If the man jumped down again, wasn't he just courting death? Seeing this, Wei Xiaobei could not help but think of a problem. Should I also try to obtain the swimming skill? If it was the dust world, there should be many things in the bodies of water. However, when he thought about other skills that he needed to unlock such skills as cooking, he felt his head ache. In short, some matters cannot be done in haste. Wei Xiaobei had also trained quite a bit in this period of time. When he was at home, he even removed his shame and asked to assist his mother in cooking to steal her techniques. After all, no matter what was said, he did not have the time to go to some culinary school to learn, so this was the best method he had left. However, before his attempt was realized, he had been kicked out from the kitchen by his mother. It must be known that his mother was a steady believer of "a nobleman stays clear of the kitchen" rule. She believed that if men entered the kitchen they would lose their enterprising spirit. Thus, in the years of marriage, his father had never been into the kitchen even once. Since she was like that to her own husband, then it was even more so for her son. No matter what was said, the cooking skill did not yet appear in Wei Xiaobei's status panel. This made him a bit puzzled and doubtful. Could it be that he simply had no innate talent? And, why did it still not appear? When the man ran to his direction, Wei Xiaobei hesitated. If it was to steal the treasure, he did not want to play this hand. Although he had been in the dust world for such a long time and killed people and monsters alike, he still felt sorry deep inside when he truly encountered this kind of situation. He had no choice in this due to his strict upbringing. Although he could be called mischievous when he was small, he had never done things that would go over the bounds of what was proper. The worst thing he had done in the past was to cook the neighbor's goldfish and eat it and opening a small duck's chest to try to find the hidden gold. However, when he had matured, he had never stolen anything. In his hesitation, the man ran over to his direction while gazing at him. The man could not help but be startled and slowed down. However, in the next moment, the man's eyes let out an ominous light. He pulled out the dagger and thrust it toward Wei Xiaobei's chest. At the same time, Wei Xiaobei also used status appraisal on the man. Name: Zhang Xianshua. Race: human. Gender: male. Age: 31. Creature rank: 2-star terror. Status: the average adult male's status value is 10. Attributes hidden. Evolution points: X, unable to accumulate evolution points. Skills: Batajutsu, perfection; medicine, greater heights; swimming, perfection. Special skills: cold release, this ability was obtained from a Millennium Ice cicada. Lowest temperature is 190 degrees below zero. Items on hand: small holding bag, Dang Kang's tusk, fake bash dragonfly grass. Wei Xiaobei immediately dodged the man's attack and reactively released his high intimidation. In an instant, an invisible force spread throughout the area with Wei Xiaobei as the center. Although the man named Zhang Xianshua could be considered to be strong, terror immediately filled his eyes when the high intimidation was activated, causing him to run. Since they had already exchanged moves, Wei Xiaobei would not let the man go and give himself a hidden danger. The previous guilt from the thought of stealing the opponent's treasure had disappeared when his opponent attacked. Wei Xiaobei patted his waist, and the great spear shot out like lightning. Then he leapt up and chased after Zhang Xianshuo. When the spearhead appeared to have almost pierced the other side, who knew that Zhang Xianshuo did not even need to look? He turned around and slashed at it, diverting the trajectory of the spear with the Dang Kang's tusk. Good. In truth, other than his master and apprentice brothers, this was the first time he encountered a strong opponent like this. This did not mean that the opponent had high attributes, but rather the opponent had strong blade skills. Wei Xiaobei knew what the so-called batajutsu was. The origin of this technique was from the Tang dynasty's two-handed sword techniques. Afterwards, it was transmitted to Japan, becoming known as batajutsu. The main part of this technique was to unleash an attack by pulling the blade from the sheath. This blade pull was extremely concealed and suited for sneak attacks. The move was very fierce. It focused on hitting with one strike. Missing would mean losing the initiative, so it was not easy to use. No matter what was said, Zhang Xianshuo's counterattack had hit the spearhead and diverted it. This level of technique was rarely seen. Facing this kind of strong opponent, Wei Xiaobei was not afraid at all. On the contrary, he became excited. When Zhang Xianshuo diverted the great spear, he turned around and jumped at Wei Xiaobei. He placed the tusk on his waist again and entered a knife-wielding stance to slightly threaten Wei Xiaobei. Chop! Wei Xiaobei tightened his grip on the great spear and immediately chopped toward the incoming Zhang Xianshuo. Zhang Xianshuo became serious at Wei Xiaobei's attack. Previously, Wei Xiaobei's high intimidation had shaken him. If he did not have his special skill to reduce the effects of high intimidation, he would have already died. Compared to the excitement he brought Wei Xiaobei, what Wei Xiaobei gave him was a heavy pressure. Ever since he entered the dust world, he relied on his head, hard work, and the heavenly opportunity to become strong. He believed that he was strong. Just his medical skills alone allowed him to open his own private hospital in the real world and earn a lot of money. In other words, Zhang Xianshuo could be considered to be very successful in the real world and in the dust world. However, he had been marked by someone today after he stole the fake Bash's dragonfly grass. Perhaps he might have been marked even before that. Unfortunately, he had just found the Dang Kang's tusk and had not yet processed it into a weapon. If he had, his fighting strength would be several times greater. No matter what. I must kill this boy. Drawl. Facing Wei Xiaobei's directly attacking great spear, Zhang Xianshuo did not retreat. On the contrary, he faced the great spear head-on. The Dang Kang's tusk was suddenly pulled out and thrusted. It was like the hero Xing Tian who fought against the Celestial Emperor. Even Wei Xiaobei could not help but praise him in his heart. Batajutsu could be described as dangerous and fierce. However, in Zhang Xianshuo's hands, it gave off a different style. Heroic. Wei Xiaobei admits that his Bajiaquan could not reach this level even though they were on the same rank of perfection. Naturally, this was pardonable. The amount of effort that Zhang Xianshuo placed on his batajutsu should be more than 10 times the amount of effort Wei Xiaobei placed on Bajiquan. It must be known that Wei Xiaobei had at most only been in the dust world for half a year. Bang! When the Dang Kang's tusk struck against the spear was once again diverted. Afterwards, Zhang Xianshuo strode forward like a running bull. He instantly appeared in front of Wei Xiaobei and thrust his Dang Kang's tusk. He truly is an expert. Wei Xiaobei once again praised him in his heart. However, his face did not change at all. He did not even discard his great spear at his opponent's approach. For Wei Xiaobei, letting go of the great spear was a joke. Ha! Wei Xiaobei shouted. His overpowering voice flooded toward Zhang Xianshuo, making his ears numb and his eyes expand, as if he had blanked out. Wei Xiaobei had now started to tread on the path of cultivation, so he was not a beginner anymore. Wei Xiaobei was not a negative Jing expert only in name but also in reality. As he had already opened his meridians and blood channels and circulated qi all over his body, he could already be considered at a high level of negative Jing. In truth, within the Guoshu experts, most of them had reached this level and even approached the next level of Jing, neutral Jing. As long as they successfully opened their meridians and blood channels then circulated qi all over their bodies, they could approach the level of neutral Jing, the level of having your entire body as the weapon and allow their bodies to gain a level of protection. It was said that higher levels of neutral Jing would allow a martial artists to even shoot out their qi like an arrow or even spit it out from their mouths as an attack. Although Wei Xiaobei had not reached this level, his voice was enough to make Zhang Xianxua suffer. Bang! Wei Xiaobei kicked Zhang Xianxua away. Not anticipating victory but anticipating defeat. This was the martial artist's motto. No martial artist would dare claim that they were the strongest under heaven. There were numerous experts around the world. Wei Xiaobei would also not dare say that he had completely seen through Zhang Xianshua's status. It must be known that there were hidden things in his status panel. Thus, Wei Xiaobei kicked him away to ensure that he would not receive the threat from close by. It must be known that a high level of batajutsu like Zhang Xianshua's would have a faster blade the closer they were. In truth, if the tusk in Zhang Xianshua's hands was more knife-shaped, then the previous thrust might have hit Wei Xiaobei. After being kicked, Zhang Xianshua was sent flying. Before he even landed, a spray of blood came out from his mouth. Moreover, he felt numbness spread from the place he was kicked at. Wei Xiaobei's kick was not a simple kick. It also had the power of electricity within it and came out from the hole underneath his shoes. By contrast, when Wei Xiaobei kicked and pulled back his leg, he frowned as he felt a piercing cold on the soles of his foot. He examined it and saw that a layer of ice had appeared under his shoes. What a strong ability! In truth, if Wei Xiaobei had not felt the danger and quickly pulled back his leg, his soles would have probably been turned to ice. With a fierce stomp, the ice had turned into fragments, and then he thrusted his weapon countless times at Zhang Xianshua who had jumped up from the ground. At this time, Zhang Xianshua's strength had already gained Wei Xiaobei's acknowledgement. So Wei Xiaobei now gave it his all. In terms of their bodies, Zhang Xianshua was completely suppressed by Wei Xiaobei, but with the existence of special skills, it was still difficult for him to kill the enemy. Just when the two of them were fighting without any side winning, the Dangkangs charged over. The giant boar's charge appeared like a magnificent army. If this 100-boar group were to make such a charge in the ancient times, even a 10,000-man army would collapse. Even Wei Xiaobei and Zhang Xianshua did not dare block their path. Wei Xiaobei raised his great spear and thrust the end towards a nearby boulder to send his body soaring upwards. On the contrary, Zhang Xianshua was beaten black and blue by the end of the charge. He initially tried to run towards the river, but Wei Xiaobei had thrusted his spear at him while in the air, forcing him back. Afterwards, he was hit by a charging boar and was sent flying. Although that Dangkang's nose and tusk was now covered with a layer of frost, being sent flying had sunk Zhang Xianshua into more danger. In front of the giant boars, he could not even get up and could only be trampled. Even Wei Xiaobei did not dare lie down on the ground and let the giant boars trample over him. That would just be courting disaster. Frozen earth. In the most critical situation, Zhang Xianshua shouted. The tusk in his hand glowed white and then he threw it towards Wei Xiaobei's direction. Zhang Xianshua's decision to attack Wei Xiaobei was a move that could kill two birds with one stone. Wei Xiaobei's landing spot was in the same direction as the wild boars. As long as it hit either Wei Xiaobei or a giant boar, he would be able to get rid of a considerable amount of danger. Even Wei Xiaobei would definitely die to it. Seeing the glowing tusk, Wei Xiaobei felt a chill on his back. Extreme danger. At this time, Wei Xiaobei did not dare play around anymore. He struck the ground with his great spear again, sending him flying once more to send him flying away. His new landing point now passed the Dang Kang's tusk and was more towards Zhang Xianshua's direction. Naturally, Wei Xiaobei's action could be considered a risky move. If the Dang Kang's fang could curve and hone in at Wei Xiaobei, then there was no way he could dodge it. Luckily, Zhang Xianshua was not a homing missile transmitter, nor was the Dang Kang's tusk a homing missile. As Wei Xiaobei was still high up in the air, the tusk had hit one of the boars. The tusk had inserted itself into the boar's nose, and suddenly exploded, enveloping everything in their surroundings with a white light. The light had quickly caught up to Wei Xiaobei. It had slightly bumped onto his back, and he immediately felt a slight cold, and then numbness. Afterwards, the numbness began to spread all throughout his body. Not good. Wei Xiaobei knew that he had been hit. He did not bother looking back and borrowed the soaring momentum to thrust the great spear at Zhang Xianshua. Even if this thrust did not contain much strength, he still could use force from his circulated qi. Wei Xiaobei sighed as he thought about the time he needed to waste to recover afterwards. When Zhang Xianshua saw Wei Xiaobei dodge the tusk, his face darkened. Though once he saw that the white light had touched Wei Xiaobei, he wasn't completely depressed, even if the light did not completely envelop him. For Zhang Xianshua, this move was similar to how Wei Xiaobei instantly releases the full power of electricity in one go. In his case, he had instantly released all of his cold power in one go. Its power was easy to imagine. Moreover, Zhang Xianshua's ability allowed him to imbue the power into a weapon and turn it into a projectile with an area of effect. It could be called his finishing move. In truth, if Wei Xiaobei defended against the tusk head-on, he would have already been enveloped by the white light and become an ice sculpture, unable to ever move again. However, even if that was so, his back was already covered with ice and was still continuing to spread. Seeing this scene, Zhang Xianshua could not help but laugh as he thought that the final victory was in his hands. As long as he rested and recovered his stamina, he could escape. The monster trees chasing from behind simply could not catch up to a normal person's running speed. However, Zhang Xianshua's expression changed in an instant. Under the cold effect, Wei Xiaobei was still able to thrust his great spear with great formidability. This was something that Zhang Xianshua never imagined. Dodge. This was the first thought that entered Zhang Xianshua's head. He immediately struggled for his life, attempting to dodge Wei Xiaobei's spear. However, since Wei Xiaobei had already made his move, how could he let Zhang Xianshua escape? The previous incident where Zhu Yi Duo escaped could be considered one of Wei Xiaobei's greatest embarrassments. Puchi. The spear had penetrated Zhang Xianshua's throat. Fresh blood spurted out from his throat, staining the spear head blood red. Wei Xiaobei sighed in relief as he saw that 500 evolution points were added into his status panel. Only then did he collapse on the ground. I finally killed this guy. In truth, the amount of evolution points he gained from killing Zhang Xianshua was not small. It was at least twice as much as the 2-star terror creatures that he had killed before. Feeling the pain from his blood channels, Wei Xiaobei had expected this would happen. After all, he had cultivated it just then for a period of time. His ability, elementary regeneration, did not have an effect on the recovery of his blood channels. If he received an injury, the effect of elementary regeneration would quickly heal his injury, but in terms of blood channel, it was useless no matter how fast Wei Xiaobei's recovery ability was. Wei Xiaobei's entire body was letting out electricity to warm up his body, slowly melting the ice on his back. When he turned around, he saw that the entire river bank was snow-white with the Dang Kang's tusk at the center. It had turned everything in the 20-meter radius around it into a blanket of frost. More than 10 Dang Kangs had been frozen solid, making them look like ice sculptures. Although the Dang Kangs that were chasing behind were not frozen solid, more than 10 of them had knocked against the ice sculptures, evidently suffering crushing defeat. At the very least, half of the frozen Dang Kangs were shattered into pieces by their allies, turning them into frozen blood fragments. Wei Xiaobei relaxed even more after he saw what happened next. The giant boars had not continued their chase as they were frightened by Zhang Xianshua's attack. They all turned around and retreated. Moreover, the Dang Kangs that knocked against the ice sculptures also retreated with all their might. Soon after, the group of Dang Kangs had knocked against the monster trees in their haste, beginning another large battle. Without the danger, Wei Xiaobei's first response was to pull out his great spear, crouch beside Zhang Xianshua's body, and search his corpse. Naturally, the time he took searching was fast. His main target was the small bag on the corpse. Zhang Xianshua only used a cord to tie it to his waist, but it was easy to see how much he valued it by how tight it was bound. Wei Xiaobei pulled the bag and used status appraisal on it. The small bag's material was very tough. Wei Xiaobei had never felt something like it in the real world. Name: small holding bag, normal quality. Description: this item can hold objects. Effect 1. This bag has a small independent space of 1 cubic meter inside. Cannot put in intelligent life form. Cannot put items from the real world. Effect 2. Blood binding. After blood binding, only the owner can use this bag. The owner only needs a thought to bring out and put in objects. Once the owner dies, the binding disappears. Seeing the small holding bag's description and effects, Wei Xiaobei became happy. In truth, he was envious of Huang Kuan's flash drive. He even thought that it was an item that should belong to the main lead. This item was simply a bag that had the power of the universe. It could store objects in large quantities, unlike his large backpack that could not even store large amounts of food and water infinitely. Now, everything was fine. Thanks to Zhang Xianshua, he had also obtained a similar item. Compared to the flash drive that could store a certain amount of food and water into data, the small holding bag was even better. There was an independent space of 1 cubic meter inside. Moreover, this did not only store food and water. As long as the item placed in did not have intelligence, then anything could be placed inside. After being happy for a while, Wei Xiaobei carefully tied the small holding bag and the stone card together. Now, was not yet the time to play around with it. Other than the small holding bag, Zhang Xianshua's corpse did not have anything good. It seemed like he was a poor wretch. Naturally, this was in terms of the dust world. At this time, the battle between the boars and the trees was heating up. The monster trees were relying on their numbers to tie down the wild boars, while the wild boars only needed to distance themselves and charge forward to destroy a countless number of trees. Moreover, the wild boars were not vegetarians. A single bite was enough to cut off the monster tree's binding. From this, it could be seen that the wild boars had an advantage over the trees. However, the approaching giant monster tree marked the battle's turning point. If the giant monster tree entered the fray and the wild boars still did not retreat, their complete annihilation was easy to imagine. At this time, some of the frozen Dang Kong began to struggle. Wei Xiaobei's eyes lit up. Without a doubt, this could be considered a big feast from Zhang Xianshua. There were 2 wild boars that were still struggling. Kill the enemy while they are down. Wei Xiaobei right now was not some good Samaritan. He raised his great spear, ran towards the giant boars, and thrusted his spear at them. Instantly, the struggling Dang Kong was pierced by the great spear through its head. With a pull, the hole left by the great spear spilled out brain juice and blood. Perhaps seeing its comrade's death, the other giant boar struggled even more to free itself. When Wei Xiaobei had pulled out the spear, the sound of ice breaking echoed as the other wild boar was able to get out. The wild boar's line of thinking was truly different from a normal person. If it was a human, the majority would escape after seeing a strong enemy or look for an opportunity. The wild boar tried to run away after breaking the ice, but after seeing Wei Xiaobei, it lowered its head and charged at him with a rumble. Against this charge, let alone Wei Xiaobei, even 2 or 3 of him would not be enough to face it. However, Wei Xiaobei was not a boar, but a living, thinking human being. He immediately jumped from the ground and made a full rotation in midair. Then he pointed the spear downwards, as the boar passed by below him. When Wei Xiaobei landed, he was facing the boar's butt. With a fast thrust, the spear penetrated the boar from the anus, causing disgusting yellow fluid and blood to come out. When the boar received this heavy attack, it painfully cried out, but it did not know what to do with the opponent now behind him. It increased its speed and charged forward faster, causing the spear to pull out from its anus. How could Wei Xiaobei let the evolution points that he was about to obtain escape? 8-step cicada. With strides, he had quickly caught up and thrust again. The boar's mind was in the end useless. Wei Xiaobei continued to thrust, causing blood to flow out continuously. In the end, it could not bear it any longer and collapsed on the ground. It made attempts to get back up, but it was too weak and suffered from extreme pain. At this time, Wei Xiaobei pulled out his white mist knife and walked beside the boar. Then he thrusted the knife into the boar's ear and twisted it, instantly ending the boar's suffering. 2 Dangkangs had given Wei Xiaobei 600 evolution points. Wei Xiaobei could not help let out a smile. After dipping the white mist knife in the blood of the boar for a while, he saw that it had changed again. Now, the knife was letting out a red and green colored mist that interweaved with each other. Only then did he put it away. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei busied himself. He stripped off the boar's skin and cut the good parts from the boar. Then he placed the small holding bag closer and with a thought, the cut parts disappeared into thin air. After busying himself for a while, he had finished and had a bit of regret. Gaining this much food was hard to do in the dust world. However, the small holding bag could only hold 1 cubic meter of items. The boar's entire meat would probably take several times the capacity of the small holding bag to store everything. In the end, he placed the meat into his backpack and stuffed it full. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei took the 4 Dangkang's tusks and bound it with the root he obtained previously, carrying them on his shoulder. Then he chose a big boulder to hide behind. If he wanted to pass through the place, he needed to wait for the battle to finish, or he could take a detour. Wei Xiaobei believed that taking a detour in the dust world was dangerous. At the very least, it was better to wait for the battle to finish and walk on a familiar path. Soon after, the giant monster tree approached the battle. Following the giant monster tree's approach, the boars came to their senses, and those that were not bound ran for their lives. As for those bound by the monster tree, they could only pray to the gods. The battle ended quickly. Those boars that were bound had been sucked dry of their bodily fluids by the roots of the giant monster tree. Even their corpses were dragged away and pulled into the ground to become its fertilizer. After the monster tree returned, it took root again and returned to its unmoving state. Only then did Wei Xiaobei stand up again and continued to advance by the river bank. No more accidents happened in his path, and he reached the outer side of the Baita hill. When Wei Xiaobei had just stepped into the meadow, the stone card on his neck lit up. Following the light, a rainbow light flew out from the white tower. In an instant, it landed in front of Wei Xiaobei, becoming a cute little girl. It was the Mingluan envoy. Seeing Wei Xiaobei arrive, the Mingluan envoy became very cheerful. Her white face let out a happy smile. She immediately grabbed Wei Xiaobei's hands. "I forgot to ask about your name last time." Wei Xiaobei could not help but let out a bitter smile. His charm was not that high, but why was the Mingluan envoy so intimate with him? Additionally, the Mingluan envoy only gave Wei Xiaobei a feeling of strangeness, as if she was not aware of the ways of the world. However, no matter what was said, he did not dare offend this Mingluan envoy. He smiled and told her his name. The Mingluan envoy thoughtfully looked at Wei Xiao. She seemed to want to say something but eventually chose not to. In the end, she smiled, "My name is Ming Luan." Saying this, the Ming Luan envoy appeared to be impatient. She beckoned with her right hand, causing the dried-up leaves and branches to be collected from afar, creating a pile of firewood. This was not the end. Afterwards, she beckoned at the creek, and 2 silver carps came out. Then she gave them to Wei Xiaobei and blinked her eyes, waiting for Wei Xiaobei to start cooking. The Ming Luan envoy's action made Wei Xiaobei not know whether to laugh or cry, but he was definitely envious. In his heart, Bai Ta Hill could be called the home of the gods. Even though the Ming Luan envoy looked like a little girl, her strength was like an elephant staring at an ant. He wondered how such an existence took fancy to his roasted fish. It must also be understood that Wei Xiaobei's cooking skill had not yet appeared. From this, it could be seen how miserable the food must be in the Bai Ta Hills. Naturally, he did not rule out the possibility that they might not need to eat food at all. As he thought further, he remembered the boar meat in his backpack. The small holding bag might be able to keep the freshness of the meat, but the backpack could definitely not. Moreover, the Ming Luan envoy had already gathered the firewood, so there should be no problem in turning the boar meat into jerky. The only problem was salt. If he did not have salt, the jerky's taste could only sate hunger and would not be something to be praised about. After hesitating, Wei Xiaobei told the Ming Luan envoy about this. What he never imagined was that the Ming Luan envoy would answer him with, "Salt? What's that? Is it delicious?" Wei Xiaobei could only sigh in his heart. He wondered how the Ming Luan envoy lived without knowing about this kind of food or even salt. Luckily, Wei Xiaobei described how salt was like. The Ming Luan envoy thought for a bit and suddenly disappeared from the spot. Seeing the Ming Luan envoy leave, Wei Xiaobei had nothing to do. He decided to clean the fishes first, and then took out the boar meat, cleaned them, and cut them into smaller pieces. Afterwards, he skewered the fish and boar meat with a stick and inserted the stick into the ground. The Ming Luan envoy did not leave for long. When Wei Xiaobei finished skewering, the Ming Luan envoy once again appeared. She carried a small pouch with an image of the White Tower. When Wei Xiaobei saw it, he understood that the pouch should be like his small holding bag. Sure enough, the Ming Luan envoy pulled out a large white cloth and poured from it. Countless tiny white granules came out from the pouch, quickly piling up into a small human-sized hill. "Is this enough?" the Ming Luan envoy smilingly asked. Wei Xiaobei tasted it, and it was indeed salt. However, he bitterly smiled and nodded his head. He wondered where she found such a huge amount of salt. Let alone the fish and boar meat that he had, even an entire dang kong could be marinated with it. Wei Xiaobei used his small holding bag to store a bit of salt in reserve. It was impossible to bring salt from the real world into the dust world. Seeing Wei Xiaobei use the small holding bag, the Ming Luan envoy suddenly spoke, "The capacity of this kind of small holding bag is small. Unfortunately, we cannot simply give away the treasures of Bai Ta Hill." Wei Xiaobei looked at the Ming Luan envoy and sighed. She truly did not know how to speak. When he thought about it, the pouch in the Ming Luan envoy's hands was much better than the small holding bag that he had. Towards roasting meat, Wei Xiaobei was already quite familiar with it. He skillfully took the firewood and piled it into a spire. Then he used thicker branches to create a simple rack. Afterwards, he placed the skewered meat onto the rack and lit up the bonfire. He flipped the meat around while putting a bit of salt on top. He was slightly regretful that he did not have oil. However, it was impossible for him to ask for oil from the Ming Luan envoy at this moment. He could not simply order her around. Although she appeared like a little girl that was pure and innocent, there was no certainty that she was just pretending. Moreover, the Bai Ta Hill might not have such a thing like vegetable oil. With excellent control of the fire, the meat were quickly cooked. When Wei Xiaobei gave the Ming Luan envoy the fish, she immediately crouched on top of a rock and ate as if her life depended on it. Her appearance made it seem like she had not eaten anything for hundreds of years. In truth, if the opponent was not strong, Wei Xiaobei would not hold back his laughter. So delicious. Even better than last time. As she ate the fish, she vaguely praised it. It was indeed so. Last time, there were no seasoning on the fish. Although its meat might smell very good, the taste was not that great. Wei Xiaobei was even reluctant to eat it without seasoning. Now that Wei Xiaobei added salt, the taste was a lot better than just plain roasted fish. When the Ming Luan envoy finished eating both of the fish, Wei Xiaobei had also finished roasting the boar meat. He gave one to the Ming Luan envoy and tasted one himself. Not bad. This was his first time evaluating his own cooking. His current cooking was definitely a lot better than when he had boiled the hardtack in water. When the Ming Luan envoy ate, her eyes glittered, and her mouth moved even quicker. Only food with proper seasoning could be called real food. Wei Xiaobei thanked the heavens as he saw that he had obtained a new skill through his hard work. Cooking, beginner cooking meals is an art. Processing and handling food well will make food tastier, look better, and more aromatic. This is the dream of every culinary master. In ancient times, people devoured raw meat to survive until fire was discovered. This was the first step to cooking. This had allowed human ancestors to become stronger and smarter. A good dish has excellent fragrance, appearance, and taste. It should not only satisfy the mind, it should also allow the body to easily absorb nutrition. A chef that has a high cooking skill can create a miraculous, extraordinary dish. Moreover, some ingredients can only be handled by higher-leveled cooking skills and be turned into a dish. To reach the next rank, evolution points and cooking flavored dishes is necessary. Flavored dishes, 0 out of 100. Compared to other skills that only had names, the cooking skills description was written in Wei Xiaobei's brain the moment it popped up. So it was like that. Seeing this, he finally understood why he never obtained the cooking skill. It must be known that the amount of recipes in Wei Xiaobei's head were not below 100. He felt that the fish he had just cooked could already be sold in the supermarket. However, only now did he understand that cooking was not a simple thing at all. Cooking was an art. Just the description was enough to tell how high-end this skill was. It was incomparable to other skills. To sum up in a few words, cooking had greatly increased the survival of humanity. Moreover, from the increased requirement in evolution points, or the requirement to cook 100 flavorful dishes, it could be seen that this skill was not simple. So, I need to make 100 flavorful dishes. The so-called flavorful dishes probably referred to whether it was salted or not, right? I wonder if the meat that I just cooked could be counted. As he was thinking this, his hands did not stop at all. He began to busy himself even more. He needed to turn the boar meat in the fire all the time. He borrowed the strength of the fire to make the grease from the fat drip out, then placed on top the appropriate amount of salt. Only when the meat turned golden yellow, could it be considered done. After all the prepared meat finished cooking, he had a 10% chance of failure. The meat would either be burnt, too salty, uncooked, or the grease had not come out. These were all failed dishes. However, the successes were all thanks to the experiences he obtained from the failed dishes. In truth, Wei Xiaobei was glad. The flavorful food mentioned by the skill also included roasted meat. This had saved him a lot of effort. If he needed to make 100 complete dishes such as twice-cooked pork, or mapo tofu, then he would need to work a lot harder. A stick of roasted meat was equivalent to one flavorful dish. This was truly convenient. He had to maintain the fire properly when he was cooking. He would add dry leaves and twigs, but he did not dare add much, fearing that the fire would grow, but also did not dare add too little, fearing that the fire would go out. One small mistake would cause the food to burn. After all that, he had eventually cooked 34 flavorful dishes. Flavorful dishes, 34/100. Wei Xiaobei gave the Ming Luan envoy 2 sticks of meat. The girl did not even speak anymore and just began eating while completely ignoring how hot the meat was. Wei Xiaobei truly did not know if the Bai Ta Hill simply served bad food, or if she was being mistreated. He could now also feel that his skill had increased. Initially, the food that he cooked properly was either too salty or too bland. After all, using his hand to spread the salt was not as easy as how barbecue vendors would marinate their meat in salt water or soy sauce. However, directly sprinkling the salt gave a stronger taste than marinating it in salt water or soy sauce. It would also not give a watery taste. In truth, Wei Xiaobei was worried that the amount of meat he would cook would be too much. After all, he was not that hungry, and who know how much the Ming Luan envoy could eat. Naturally, if he was not worried about the taste, then he would have just placed the cooked meat into his backpack. However, no matter how flavorful it was, its taste would degrade once it cooled down. But he remembered that he should be able to maintain the temperature inside the small holding bag. The problem was that the small holding bag was now filled with raw meat, so he could not simply create space for the cooked meat. However, Wei Xiaobei had become relieved in the end. The Ming Luan envoy looked like a little girl, but she had a great appetite that people would probably be startled by it. Even Wei Xiaobei suspected that she might just be the human transformation of some big monster. Out of the 34 sticks of roasted meat, the girl had at least eaten 32 of them. Although one stick was not much, Wei Xiaobei was not selling them, so he tried to pack as much as he could in one stick. 5 sticks would probably be enough to fill a platter. A normal man would probably only be able to eat 10 sticks before he was full. Eating 15 sticks would probably half kill him, and 20 would send him to the hospital. However, the little girl had actually eaten 32 sticks, but she still appeared to be hungry. Could it be a Taotai in disguise? Wei Xiaobei bitterly smiled, as he felt that this was too funny. He began to prepare more skewers and emptied more than half a backpack of meat. Then he cut them up, and skewered them with peeled branches. Compared to bamboo sticks, using tree branches were a bit more inconvenient. Thus, when the girl saw that there was no more meat on the fire, she took the initiative and came over to help skewer meat. When Wei Xiaobei saw that the little girl was breaking the sticks from the force of her hands, he could not help but sigh, it would be so much better if we had bamboo. The little girl was the Ming Luan envoy, so it was a bit difficult for Wei Xiaobei to talk to her. However, this time, she immediately replied, "Bamboo is out of the question. They are too precious." Wei Xiaobei was baffled by her words. Bamboo is out of the question. They are too precious. What does this mean? After thinking for a while, he still could not understand the meaning behind her words. Did she mean that bamboo was rare in Bai Ta Hill, or did she mean that bamboo was an important strategic material in the dust world? Or did it have a completely different meaning? There was too many unknowns. Even if Wei Xiaobei tried to increase his reasoning to 20 points, it would still be hard to make a conclusion. Moreover, asking the little girl would not bear any results. She only knew how to stare at you and skewer meat. The meat of the Dang Kong was different from normal household pork. When Wei Xiaobei gradually mastered the art of roasting, he was able to even make the fragrance come out. Soon after, the meat was on the fire getting continuously being roasted. Wei Xiaobei noticed that the color of the cooking skill was also getting darker. In the end, the color of the cooking skill became dark gray after the 100th stick. The flavored dishes count was not at 100/100. This should be enough. Wei Xiaobei inspected his evolution points. Because he had killed Zhang Xian Shua and 2 Dang Kangs, his evolution points was now at 1,360 points. Wei Xiaobei looked at the little girl who was busying herself with the sticks of meat and simply ignoring him at the same time. there should be no problem. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei focused on his cooking skill and his evolution points decreased. The cooking skill gradually turned from dark gray to red. When the skill fully became red, the cooking skill reached intermediate rank. Other skills would needed 50 evolution points to increase in rank, but the cooking skill used up 100 points. When it increased to intermediate rank, the flavorful dishes became fragrant dishes 0/200. This meant that he needed to cook 200 fragrant dishes to increase his cooking skill to the next rank. Without even needing to think, Wei Xiaobei understood that this would be a lot harder than cooking 100 flavorful dishes, whether in quality or in quantity. As the saying goes, a good dish must be colorful, fragrant, and tasty. For many people, the taste of the dish was the number one priority. Untasty food would not make the customer satisfied even if the two other conditions were fulfilled. After taste came fragrance. In simpler terms, why do plain noodles in broth need to be sprinkled with chopped spring onions? With the steam from the noodles, the fragrance from the spring onions would spread. When people smelt it, their saliva would flow, allowing them to understand how delicious the plain noodles would be even without eating it. This was the main importance of fragrance. After all, smell was an important factor that humans used to judge whether a dish was good or bad. By smelling food, people would know if the food had gone sour, needed to be taken to the trash, or would cause bad effects on their bodies. Wei Xiaobei frowned at the thought of how hard it would be to cook 200 fragrant dishes. First, it wasn't a question of if the little girl could eat 200 meat skewers, because even if she could, his time was not enough. Roasting 100 sticks had used up a lot of Wei Xiaobei's time. Moreover, using the skill was not without consumption. To roast the meat, he needed to pay attention to the fire, flip the sticks at the right timing, placing the right amount of salt, etc. Wei Xiaobei felt that the amount of mental consumption in doing all of these tasks was not less than the amount he would use for killing a normal 3-star creature. Although Wei Xiaobei had never killed one before, it did not mean that he had never considered it. He tiredly rubbed his aching eyes and smiled at the little girl. The little girl's stomach had rounded out a bit and had just finished eating the last skewer. She satisfyingly patted her stomach while ignoring the yellow handprints on her shirt that were left behind. "You are not bad." The little girl at this moment could truly be called the Ming Luan envoy. Her childish nature had disappeared, making Wei Xiaobei suspicious that she might even have a dual personality. The Ming Luan envoy looked at him and pointed at the stone card on his chest. A white light immediately shot out from her fingers and landed on the stone card. Wei Xiaobei did not even have a chance to react throughout the process. Next, the Ming Luan envoy's figure turned into a rainbow light and shot towards the sky and into Bai Ta Hill. Seeing the Ming Luan envoy leave, Wei Xiaobei picked up the stone card and used status appraisal. Item name, Ming Luan envoy's proof. Material, stone. Description, this proof was created by Bai Ta Shan's Ming Luan envoy. It has been slightly blessed by the burning incense of Bai Ta Hill. Effect 1, Ming Luan's envoy will know when you approach Bai Ta Hill. Effect 2, Identification. While in the dust world, by wishing to go to Bai Ta Hill, the owner would be teleported to Bai Ta Hill's surroundings after 10 seconds. The user would not suffer from the barrier around Bai Ta Hill. This effect can only be used 3 times. Only by paying a price to the Ming Luan envoy can replenish this ability. Effect 3. Levels up based on intimacy with the Ming Luan envoy. When Wei Xiaobei looked at the second effect, he could not help become happy. The greatest reward he had received from the dust world during this time's visit was not the cooking skill. After all, even if the skill was hard to obtain, he only needed to work harder and he would definitely succeed. His biggest gain was the Ming Luan envoy's proof's second effect. While in the dust world, as long as he thought about Bai Ta Hill, he would be teleported to Bai Ta Hill's surroundings without being impeded by the barrier. In other words, he now had another lifeline. If he was being pursued by an enemy, as long as he could hide for 10 seconds or defend for 10 seconds, he could teleport to Bai Ta Hill. Naturally, the only thing Wei Xiaobei did not like about it was the 10-second activation delay. He knew that if he met a truly strong enemy, then 10 seconds would probably be enough to have him killed. Moreover, he could only use it 3 times. Although he could replenish it with the Mingluan envoy, the price for doing so might not be small. Despite this, anyone would understand that this teleportation effect could allow for survival even if it had a 10-second activation time. Moreover, Wei Xiaobei also had his early warning ability to tell him of danger. If he felt that he was about to encounter a calamity, then he could make a decision in advance. After calculating the time, he understood that he had a bit more left, but not that much. After trying to feel things with his intuition, he gave up on finding monsters to earn any evolution points at the moment. Soon, Wei Xiaobei lied down on the meadow and slowly entered into a dream. His body gradually became transparent and disappeared into thin air. Before Wei Xiaobei disappeared, a gowned person appeared on a giant rock afar. He looked in his direction and sighed. After opening his eyes, Wei Xiaobei felt lively as he surveyed his surroundings. He was currently lying down on a soft cotton sofa, there was no hole in the television, and the ceiling did not have spots of aging. The only thing Wei Xiaobei did not feel comfortable about was the slight smell of formaldehyde pervading in the air. This could not be helped since the house had only been constructed 3 months ago. There had been no one living here for those 3 months, and the doors were shut, so the air did not flow properly, intensifying the smell in the air. Although the air had circulated a lot when Wei Xiaobei moved in, the smell was still there. The worst part of this was Wei Xiaobei's acute sense of smell. If he did not pay attention, the smell of formaldehyde would become even stronger. Wei Xiaobei sat up from the sofa and looked at the time on his phone. It was already the wee hours of the morning. Seeing that there were no movements in Zhu Xianyi's room, he did not have any plans of knocking on it. He picked up the small holding bag and planned to take a look at the fake Bash's dragonfly grass. He did not dare do so in the dust world after seeing how it attracted monsters when it appeared in Zhang Xianshua's hand. He understood that the thing was like a bright light that attracted monsters. Wei Xiaobei did not want to become the target of arrows, that was only the act of someone courting death. Thus he did not dare take it out until he returned to reality. However, he quickly noticed that he had failed in bringing out the fake Bash's dragonfly grass. This also included the Dang Kong meat and the other things inside. After contemplating for a while, he gave up on what he was doing. He picked up his phone and looked at the internet for more recipes. The morning of the next day, Zhu Xine woke up from her sweet dreams. When she opened the door, she immediately smelled something fragrant. The fragrance came from the kitchen. Zhu Xine at this moment was a bit suspicious. Master knows how to cook. This was a blind spot in Zhu Xine's understanding. She remembered that his master's mother did not let him in the kitchen. This made her feel that his master did not know how to cook. This understanding was also not wrong. Although men and women were equals in current society, there were men with great skills in the kitchen. Especially since national-level chefs were mostly male. This might even mean that men have an innate ability in the kitchen. However, in Zhu Xine's life, she had only rarely met men who were good at cooking. Thus, her master being a guoshu expert being bad in the kitchen should be a normal thing. However, today seemed strange. As she was thinking about this, she had unconsciously walked into the kitchen. She saw his master's familiar back as he stood in front of the kitchen stove. Hearing Zhu Xine's footsteps, Wei Xiaobei quickly turned around with a bit of flour still on his nose and smiled brightly. Xine, you're awake. Quickly go wash your face. Today, you will taste your master's skills. Oh. Zhu Xine looked up with half-asleep eyes and followed Wei Xiaobei's instructions. She turned around and walked into the bathroom. Only after wiping her face with a warm damp towel, did Zhu Xine fully wake up. At the back of her mind, she was thinking that her master was making breakfast with strange ingredients. Just thinking about it made Zhu Xine lose her appetite. She had even vomited a bit while she was gargling. When she walked out of the bathroom, she was still a bit apprehensive. Although Zhu Xine was not that picky compared to other girls who did not dare eat food from college cafeterias, she was still a girl. If the ingredients were too strange, her heart may not be able to take it. When she sat at the table, she became relieved. On the table was deep-fried flat bread, soy milk, and different pickled vegetables. Just from the appearance and smell indicated that they were safe to eat. When she drank the soy milk, it did not have the slight sour taste from store-bought soy milk. She then took a bite out of the deep-fried flat bread. The inside had shelled shrimp and beef bits mixed in that complemented each other and the bread. The taste was a lot more stronger than the ones bought from street vendors. "Master, you are too awesome." It could be said that Zhu Xine now had a whole new level of respect for Wei Xiaobei. She never imagined that a man's cooking could reach this level of deliciousness. Although it could not compare to chefs in big restaurants, this level was still hard to obtain. Her admiration was also due to the gap created from Zhu Xine's image of Wei Xiaobei. Wei Xiaobei smiled and did not say anything else as he continued eating with his head down. He did not become embarrassed due to Zhu Xine's praise, but he was thinking how to quickly raise his cooking skill. While he was in the dust world, he had a premonition that raising his cooking skill would give him a great pleasant surprise. From this, he made a decision to quickly increase his cooking skill. Even if he wasted time by not going to the dust world, he did not hesitate. However, a problem appeared. Only the deep-fried flat bread was considered a fragrant dish. The fragrant dish requirement had only reached 3/200. After cooking 10 deep-fried flat bread, only 3 were recorded in the requirements. With this calculation, if he cooked 3 meals in a day, it would take a long time to reach the full requirement. Additionally, Wei Xiaobei could feel that deep-fried flat bread and similar things would not increase his comprehension of cooking. Could it be that I should go accept a cooking job at some restaurant? After gathering all his choices, Wei Xiaobei noticed that this may be the only choice if he wanted to quickly raise his cooking skill. The only problematic thing was that he did not have the qualifications or certifications to be one. If he wanted to enter a famous big restaurant, or a big hotel, it would be impossible, unless he entered in as a helper and did minor jobs like washing vegetables. Wei Xiaobei had no use for such a job position. Moreover, if he wanted to be one, returning to Chuehu City would make it easier for him to find work. Baita County was a bit behind Chuehu City. The economy was not as lively and the food industry had gloomy prospects. Being a chef in this place was not convenient. Moreover, Wei Xiaobei was worried that his parents might see him. That too would become troublesome. Moreover, staying in Baita County was not really useful. If he brought Zhu Xine into the dust world here, it would simply be too dangerous as he could not anticipate what could happen at all. Thus, after eating breakfast, he told Zhu Xine to pack her things and prepare to return to Chuehu City. Zhu Xine did not have any complaints at Wei Xiaobei's decision. She returned to her room at once and began to pack up, including the clothes that she had hung out to dry on the balcony. Wei Xiaobei became more relaxed. He had just rented the house for the next year. This place could be considered as one of his strongholds in Baita County. If he needed anything in the future, he could just return. "Master, I have finished packing." After Wei Xiaobei finished downloading cooking materials, Zhu Xine was already carrying a backpack while holding on to another backpack and walked over. "Okay." When Wei Xiaobei looked at it, he saw that the backpack in her hand was his luggage, though Het did not know if everything was put in there. He returned to his room and circled it. His face reddened slightly when he noticed that the things hung out to dry on the balcony had also disappeared. After getting in the car, Wei Xiaobei drove the minivan out of the county and found a gas station to fill up the car's gas tank. Then they drove back to Chuihu City. While watching the scenery that passed by, then looking at Zhu Xine who was on her phone, Wei Xiaobei decided to tell her, Xin. If you have nothing to do, you should learn a few things like driving or cooking. It would have benefits. Oh. I will finish the Bajiquan materials first. Zhu Xine nodded her head, but still placed all her attention on her phone. Wei Xiaobei smiled at the fact that he was thinking too much. With Zhu Xine's power, learning how to fight first was better than learning multiple things at once. After all, survival was the first priority in the dust world. Zhu Xine had her own principles and ideas, so he did not need to control her too much. When driving, Wei Xiaobei's surface nature was much more inclined toward stability. Thus, even if he was on the expressway, he did not increase his speed and maintain the same pacing. There would be cars passing by their minivan at high speed. After looking at the phone for a while, Zhu Xine rubbed her tired eyes. Her mental strength was not as good as her master. Although she had slept for an entire night, some of the strain from training was still there. To freshen up a little, Zhu Xine opened the window to let the autumn air blow on her face. This was after all, her favorite season. It did not have the scorching hot of summer, or the sheer cold of winter. It was the most pleasant season for her. However, in the next moment, Zhu Xine's face became ugly. A luxurious BMW overtook the minivan from behind. The car was a classic model. It was said that the legal sector had done research on them, and found that about 30% of strange cases had some sort of relationship to the owners of these cars. This was why the car was nicknamed, dishonest car, or whatnot. Naturally, this was not much. Strange cases would also happen to other cars, but the probability was lower. On expressways, overtaking was a normal thing. There would be many cars overtaking cases that happen in a day. However, the owner of the BMW seemed to have good eyes and saw that Zhu Xine was a beauty. The BMW slowed down to the same speed as the minivan. An oily-faced man wearing a white suit and glasses smiled and looked over. Hey, beauty. Don't you want to ride my car and go for a spin with me? A sweet, fair, and graceful woman was easy to get, or at least that was how it was described in early Chinese poems. On the outside, especially the expressway where there was fewer signs of human habitation, highly attractive beauties would naturally attract people more. Facing this, Wei Xiaobei did not even turn his head and only paid attention to the road. As a driver, he must pay attention to the safety of the car and its passengers. As for other things, he believed that Zhu Xine could deal with them. Do you think that you are Crayon Shinchan? Zhu Xine did not get angry, but her expression became stern and threw these words at the man in the car next to her. This had caused the other people in the BMW to laugh. Anybody who had watched the show would indeed have a deep impression. A brat would ride his bicycle with an extremely self-confident appearance, and would fool around with beautiful women, saying, "Hey, beauty. Don't you want to ride my car and go for a spin with me?" Imagining it would make anyone laugh. Being ridiculed by a woman was fine. The man still had the potential as a playboy, so he could endure being loathed by beautiful women. But being ridiculed by his friends had made him lose face. For many people, they would never become aware that a moment's impulsiveness could create some kind of consequence. The man had not yet reached the level of being able to tolerate it. He only stepped on the accelerator and turned his steering wheel, causing the people inside the car to scream while successfully blocking the front of the minivan. In this kind of situation, let alone Wei Xiaobei's advanced rank, driving, skill, even an F1 race driver would not have been able to change course. Boom! The minivan directly hit the BMW, intimately touching the back part. In truth, Wei Xiaobei had been startled by it, despite his high awareness and reaction time. He never would have imagined that the other side would be so daring. It was not like they were riding the bumper cars that would be fine even if they collided. In the real world, a small mistake would make people lose lives. Naturally, this was only happened on the side of the BMW. During the collision, Zhu Xinyi's face went pale. She immediately got down from the car, and walked to the BMW. At this time, the BMW's owner and his friends were almost scared to death. When the owner got down and saw Zhu Xinyi come over, who knew what was going on in his head to have actually had the thought of taking liberties with Zhu Xinyi, "Beauty, what should we do now that you had crashed into my car? If you accompany me for a day, this matter can be negotiated." Wei Xiaobei got down from the car, but did not walk over. He only looked at the side and believed that Zhu Xinyi could resolve the problem. Even if she could not, him going over would not solve anything. However, what Wei Xiaobei never imagined was that when Zhu Xinyi heard the man's words, she exploded. She directly charged forward and kicked the man on the balls. In truth, when Wei Xiaobei saw this scene, he could not help but clamp his knees together as he felt a chill down below. Any man's weakness would probably be that place. The man simply never expected that Zhu Xinyi, who looked like a pure girl, would do such a thing. The man immediately bent down from the pain. Afterwards, Zhu Xinyi gifted him with an uppercut to the chin. The man could not react to anything and immediately fainted. "What are you doing?" Seeing this scene, the man's two friends were dumbstruck. They only came to their senses after a few seconds. They surrounded Zhu Xinyi, but it was not clear if they wanted to block Zhu Xinyi or fight her. However, Zhu Xinyi did not even give them the chance to talk. She elbowed one of the friend's temple, then gave a chop to the neck on other friend. Both of them fainted on the spot. In truth, Zhu Xinyi's ladylike appearance was deceptive. Although she had trained for a period of time, her muscles had not yet bulged out, but her strength had increased. It must be known that the best timing to learn martial arts was 6 years old. At that time, a child's bones had not yet been set, so it was easier to mold. To start training during adulthood would decrease the training's effects. Zhu Xinyi was already more than 10 years old. Being able to reach this level in such a short amount of time would make any master proud. After beating up the 3 people, Zhu Xinyi blanked out for a bit. When she made her move, she had forgotten that she was in the real world and not in the dust world. When she came to her senses, the 3 people had already collapsed on the ground. What should I do? Zhu Xinyi could not help but look at her master. Wei Xiaobei smiled and walked forward. He extended his hand, picked up 2 people on the ground, and threw them to the back seat of the BMW. Zhu Xinyi followed the pattern and pushed the spectacled man into the back seat as well, ignoring what kind of position they were in. "Go back in the car," Wei Xiaobei instructed, and then got in the BMW. He stepped on the pedal and turned the wheel, stopping the car at the side of the road. As for anything after that, Wei Xiaobei did not care about them to do anymore and continued driving the minivan forward. As for what would happen to the 3 people, if they were fined by the police or not, he did not know. Naturally, the other party could report this matter to the police and say that they were attacked. But for Wei Xiaobei and Zhu Xinyi, encountering the 3 people was only just a small accident on their way back. However, because of the small accident, many important things that would take its place. These things would appear later on. After getting off the expressway, the minivan entered the suburbs. Seeing the continuously increasing buildings, Wei Xiaobei was slightly moved. He remembered how nervous he was the first time he entered the city, as well as how he was uncertain of his future. He did not know if he would be able to find a good job, or if he could find an apartment. But now, it was already the second time he entered Chuihu City, and his state of mind had already changed so much. Although his money was no longer as much as what he had originally acquired, he was absolutely not without a residence, nor was he unable to eat 3 meals a day. Now, entering in the city, he was completely relaxed. The only thing was that he missed his master, apprentice brothers and sister, and even Huang Kuan. The minivan stopped at the side of the street to let Zhu Xine get down first. She needed to buy food and other daily necessities. While Wei Xiaobei drove the car into the alley and parked the minivan in an underground garage. When Wei Xiaobei opened the dojo doors, he was stunned to see that Huang Kuan was currently training with someone, and his opponent was second senior apprentice brother Zhang Zhilong. It was clear that Huang Kuan had been suppressed by Zhang Zhilong to the point that he could not breathe anymore. In the end, when Huang Kuan was so anxious that he attacked to make a comeback, Zhang Zhilong took a step back and easily pressed him onto the ground, making him unable to struggle free anymore. Zhang Zhilong extended his hand and pulled up Huang Kuan. However, as Huang Kuan got up, he muttered, "Second martial uncle, don't you know how to go easy on me? My bones have already fallen apart." It could be seen that the relationship between Huang Kuan and Zhang Zhilong had become closer. "Brat, someone is accompanying you to train. Don't go overboard." Wei Xiaobei walked over and then shouted. This made Huang Kuan not dare to dilly-dally anymore and immediately jumped up. He looked at Wei Xiaobei and greeted him, "Master, you have returned." Before Wei Xiaobei was able to reply, Huang Kuan immediately followed up, "What about Sister Xine? She went to the supermarket to buy things. Quickly go help her." Wei Xiaobei's words made Huang Kuan stand up and go outside. When he left, the two apprentice brothers walked into the inner practice ground. After talking for a while, Zhang Zhilong expressed his regret of still not being able to go in the dust world after thinking up so many methods. When he returned and saw Huang Kuan who had not returned home, he was inspired to try again. During this period of time, he had placed his efforts on Huang Kuan. He would have him practice every day and caused him unspeakable suffering. However, from Wei Xiaobei's point of view, Huang Kuan had gotten stronger under his second senior apprentice brother's training. After chatting for a while, Wei Xiaobei saw that Zhu Xine and Huang Kuan had carried big bags back. It was now close to noon, so Wei Xiaobei did not give up the chance to train his cooking skill. After busying himself for more half an hour, everybody sat at the table and began to eat. Other than Zhu Xine, Zhang Zhilong and Huang Kuan were both surprised at Wei Xiaobei's cooking and praised him without end. After all, Wei Xiaobei had never shown this much skill before. Seeing him today made them feel that it was unimaginable. "Xiaobei, with your skills, you could already become a chef in some restaurant." Zhang Zhilong praised him. Who knew that Wei Xiaobei would reply, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it." Zhang Zhilong's smile immediately became dull. After coming to his senses, he stared at Wei Xiaobei with disbelieving eyes. "You want to be a chef?" "Right, second senior apprentice brother, can you help me ask around about it?" Wei Xiaobei nodded his head and immediately smiled. Zhang Zhilong felt a bit of rage rising up from within him. According to Zhang Zhilong's notion, Wei Xiaobei was able to enter the dust world, which was a heavenly opportunity dropping on his head. If it was Zhang Zhilong, he would immerse himself in the dust world every day, unwilling to leave. He never imagined that Wei Xiaobei would ignore his own occupation and choose to become a chef. If the power to travel to the dust world could be exchanged, Zhang Zhilong would likely be willing to pay any sum for it. Wei Xiaobei simply did not know that his words would bring this much rage from his second senior apprentice brother. After eating lunch, Wei Xiaobei was dragged to the side by Zhang Zhilong. After being berated, Wei Xiaobei understood why, but he could not say that he needed to train his cooking skill, so he gloomily left. Even though the path of asking his second senior apprentice brother for help had been cut off, he was not dejected at all. He would not be able to work in big restaurants or big hotels. This could be considered a good thing. After all, with his current level of skill and the fact that he had no certification, it meant that going to these places would only land him in a lower position. Becoming the handler was impossible. He might as well just find a small cafeteria. However, even small cafeterias would require a chef to have certification. Other than that, he would also require a sanitation certificate and many others. So troublesome. Wei Xiaobei scratched his head as he wandered into the courtyard. At this time, Huang Kuan, who had just finished washing the dishes, walked out and saw Wei Xiaobei. He immediately got into a conversation. "Master, you want to be a chef?" Wei Xiaobei nodded and thought that Huang Kuan would persuade him not to take the wrong path like what Zhang Zhilong said, so he immediately shut Huang Kuan's mouth by saying, "Enough. Go back to training. Let master see your progress." Who knew that Huang Kuan would not give up and sneakily asked, "Master, if you want to be a chef, I might have a way." Originally, Huang Kuan was not there to dissuade Wei Xiaobei but rather to lick his boots. Wei Xiaobei stared at him and thought of what kind of connections the brat had. No matter what was said, Wei Xiaobei did not berate him but carefully listened to him. However, Huang Kuan said that he could ask his mother for help. Moreover, his mother was an executive in a food and beverages company, so there should be no problems. Hearing Huang Kuan's words, Wei Xiaobei suddenly asked, "Brat, why haven't you returned home yet?" While saying this, Wei Xiaobei stared at Huang Kuan's face. Hearing this, Huang Kuan's face became frantic. Without a doubt, when Wei Xiaobei left, he simply never returned home even once or gone to school. "What's your mother's phone number?" Wei Xiaobei felt that he had indulged Huang Kuan and thought that his mother might be worried. "Master, old people should not get angry, don't get angry. It's because my injury had not healed yet, so I'm afraid of worrying my mother. Please rest assured. I already called home. There should be no problems." Compared to other people of the same age, Huang Kuan's ability to react and make excuses like this was indeed faster. He quickly made his move and dissipated most of Wei Xiaobei's anger. In truth, Wei Xiaobei felt a bit of shame to call Huang Kuan's mother. Now that the situation seemed to be dealt with by Huang Kuan, Wei Xiaobei became relieved. His next words became calmer. With a connection like Huang Kuan, Wei Xiaobei did not need to go find a job offering. If he did so, it would take too long. In order to have things go smoothly, Wei Xiaobei pulled Huang Kuan to the side and told him the details. Since he had decided to borrow this means, Wei Xiaobei was not willing to destroy such an opportunity. After Wei Xiaobei urged him, Huang Kuan made a phone call not to his mother but to her secretary. For Huang Kuan, not contacting his mother was for the best. Imagining his mother's nagging tactics made his back feel numb. Huang Kuan's phone call went smoothly. Wei Xiaobei, who was listening to Huang Kuan's sweet plea, made his bones itch. It was clear that the secretary who Huang Kuan called Sister E could not deny his request. After hanging up the phone, Huang Kuan proudly displayed his accomplishment to Wei Xiaobei. As long as the sanitation certificate was done, Wei Xiaobei could immediately start working at a fast food restaurant under his mother's company. Without a doubt, the fast food restaurant business was much more suited to meet his demands. He could make a lot of food in such a restaurant. This would help him satisfy the quantitative problem of raising his skill. The most important point was that working in fast food restaurants allowed him to work casually. The sanitation certificate was not easy to obtain. Wei Xiaobei went to the hospital to do a general checkup, and it would take at least a week before the certificate comes out. His second apprentice brother had left the dojo and once again obsessed himself with finding a way into the dust world. Wei Xiaobei inspected Huang Kuan's injuries. He saw that it had healed up nicely and would not have any side effects. After finding out about this, Huang Kuan began bothering Wei Xiaobei to go into the dust world. It was fine to go in, but before that, Wei Xiaobei needed to allocate his evolution points. After raising his cooking skill, he now had 1260 evolution points. He first decided to increase his reasoning to 20 points. There was no need to explain the benefits of this attribute. After concentrating on it, his evolution points decreased quickly, consuming 492 points to raise his reasoning to 20 points. Following the increase, something warm entered his brain and flowed into the bloodstream. A sharp dizziness made him unable to open his eyes as he felt a strong feeling of paralysis. Luckily, Wei Xiaobei was currently lying on his bed. There should be no problems even if he could not control his body. This dizzy feeling persisted for a long time. When it disappeared, he felt that his mind had cleared up. Information about the items around him would enter his brain. When a dragonfly passed by, Wei Xiaobei was able to begin perceiving information, speed of 16.5 kilometers per hour. It planned to catch a housefly and needed more speed and a proper angle to do so. This made Wei Xiaobei feel that his brain had started to become akin to a computer. As long as he opened his eyes and used a bit of effort, Wei Xiaobei could tell that the mental consumption of the skill had increased. He could not help but close his eyes and look at his status panel. At this time, Wei Xiaobei noticed a new ability appeared behind the reasoning attribute. Precise calculation. This ability will appear once reasoning raises to 20 points. This ability allowed the user to think 5 times faster than normal and gain more details. Without a doubt, this was a strong ability. Although the time it remained active was not long, it was clearly a nice support ability. Wei Xiaobei roughly felt that if he activated this ability while in battle, he could easily grasp control of the flow of battle. Thinking about this, he turned silent for a moment. Each attribute could not be underestimated, so it was hard to choose the next one to increase. After lightly sighing, Wei Xiaobei decided to place his evolution points into learning. Something warm seemed to enter his brain again and he felt faint to the point of almost passing out. When his learning increased to 20 points, a new ability appeared. Retentive memory. The name of the ability was enough to explain what it did. It was a passive ability. With this ability, any information that Wei Xiaobei saw, he would not forget. The strength of this ability was to support other abilities. In simpler terms, Wei Xiaobei would only need half the effort to learn things in the future. He only needed to look at something once and it would be imprinted into his brain. During his idle time, he could slowly look over them. Naturally, this ability was a bit troublesome compared to a phone. In a phone, he only needed to click download without looking through the material, but the ability needed him to look over the material at least once. However, once he remembered, even if it was the dust world, he could take his time and look through the materials even while moving along the road. This ability also supported other abilities like status appraisal, response search, and precise calculation. It had at least increased their effects by 30%. Just like that, Wei Xiaobei had chosen 2 skills and was left with 268 evolution points. In the end, he placed them all into release electricity, electric current. Compared to the voltage limit, his electric current limit was a lot lower. Even if he was facing a normal human, it would be hard to kill them in an instant, let alone strong monsters of the dust world. Following the consumption of the evolution points, the electric current's limit increased from 62 mA to 196 mA. 100 mA was already enough to stop a normal person's heart after 3 seconds. In truth, compared to increasing the voltage limit, increasing the electric current limit had more outstanding effects. After using up all his evolution points, Wei Xiaobei called in both of his disciples. Their expressions were enough to tell their personalities. When Huang Kun heard about entering the dust world, he became excited, and the fat on his face trembled. Zhu Xine, on the other hand, placed her phone down, looked at Wei Xiaobei, and waited for her master's admonition. Wei Xiaobei now loved to do this. Being able to admonish his disciples as the master gave him an indescribable sense of success. Previously, he had brought both of his disciples into the dust world, and he had also given words of admonition for certain things such as where they went wrong. This had given him a sense of accomplishment. However, Wei Xiaobei was not in the mood to admonish them today. He only told them what they should watch out for, and let both of them enter first. Who knew what happened, but Wei Xiaobei's intuition was telling him that some problems would occur during this visit. Huang Kun immediately began to play games and Zhu Xine took out a book that she had prepared to read. Wei Xiaobei glanced at the cover and saw that it was a web novel that he had been reading to pass time during work before. Its title was Seize the Godhead. It was not a bad book and in the past, had captivated Wei Xiaobei. Thus, since it had some sentimental value, Wei Xiaobei brought it to the dojo when he first moved in. He never imagined that Zhu Xine would find it and turn it into a tool to enter the dust world. Huang Kuen's body immediately became transparent and disappeared. Not long after Zhu Xine also began to disappear as the book landed on the ground. Seeing his disciples enter the dust world, Wei Xiaobei took out the wine that he had prepared, opened the cap, and chugged it down. The wine flowed down his throat, causing a burning sensation as his mind gradually became hazy. Wei Xiaobei woke up and turned over the bed. No accidents happened. Wei Xiaobei was still in his room, and the room was still ruined. No. Wei Xiaobei looked at his surroundings. Where did my two disciples go off to? Wei Xiaobei waited for a while, but he still did not see the figure of his disciples. Although his disciples were not as fast as him in entering the dust world, it should not have taken this long. Moreover, the two of them had come in earlier than him. He concluded that something wrong must have happened. Wei Xiaobei's forehead could not help but let out cold sweat. He opened the door and walked the path that they all had passed through before, walking towards the outer practice ground. When Wei Xiaobei appeared in the outer practice ground, he saw that nothing had changed compared to the last time. There were still wooden training dummies in the center of the training grounds, and the treeman saplings were still outside the lime-colored line. He also saw that Zhu Xine and Huang Kun were at the corner of the training grounds, fighting some treeman saplings. Why did you guys run over here? Wei Xiaobei was slightly angry and strode over their direction. Those wooden training dummies simply could not obstruct Wei Xiaobei. When he approached the line, Wei Xiaobei asked again. Huang Kun might have been a troublemaker, but Zhu Xine was more earnest. Wei Xiaobei could not understand why she would run here with Huang Kun. However, the two's explanation made Wei Xiaobei suddenly understood that his worries were this. He had entered the dust world and appeared in his room, but when the both of them entered, they were immediately sent to this place. Moreover, they were trapped by a newly added line and could not move anywhere. Wei Xiaobei frowned and carefully inspected the lines. Just as the two of them said, there were now more lines on the ground and trapped the both of them on a corner. The treeman saplings there appeared to be stronger than the previous ones. Their roots also secreted a sticky liquid that could damage weapons. Zhu Xine's machete was still good to use though. After all, it was made from a 3-star creature, sacred beetle. It had the ability to resist the liquid. However, Huang Kun's small zhua was already unusable. The small zhua was the corpse of a 1-star elite creature, Zhua Guai. When it collided with the roots, it immediately became full of holes and was rendered useless. Without a weapon, Huang Kun had lost the ability to fight. If Zhu Xine did not help fend them off with her machete and ordered her treeman saplings to fight, Huang Kun might have been captured by the treeman saplings before Wei Xiaobei arrived. Catch! Wei Xiaobei shouted and threw a machete towards Huang Kun. Huang Kun became happy and jumped up to catch it. Afterwards, he turned around and went to kill the treeman saplings. This move alone already signified that Huang Kun was already above normal students of the dojo. If it was other people, let alone catching the machete, they might have even injured themselves. The machete that Wei Xiaobei threw was one of the 2 machetes that he had milled from the Dang Kang's tusks over the past few days. Because he was not that skillful yet and the Dang Kang's tusks were hard, he had wasted 2 out of the 4, but succeeded in making 2. The machete made from the tusk was a lot harder than the small joie. When the liquid from the sapling dripped on the machete, no damage occurred, most likely due to the quality of the material. Or it could also be that the liquid only had an effect against metals. With a machete, Huang Kuan's killing power increased. Soon, he had killed one of the bound saplings. Moreover, while the enemy's attention was on Huang Kuan, Zhu Xine took the opportunity and successfully charmed two of the stronger saplings. Wei Xiaobei inspected the stronger sapling status. Compared to normal treeman saplings, their attribute values were at least higher by around 30%. Moreover, they were not normal one-star creatures, but one-star elite creatures. Soon after, the treeman saplings were either all killed or charmed. When the battle ended, a stone door suddenly appeared on the wall. Huang Kuan was bolder and touched the door. As a result, the unexpected happened and he disappeared right on the spot. This made Wei Xiaobei nervous, but the next moment, Huang Kuan's noisy voice came from outside the wall. What happened? Why am I outside? Master. Sister Xine. Are both of you inside? Hearing that Huang Kuan's voice was still as lively and nothing bad had happened, Wei Xiaobei and Zhu Xine were instantly relieved. Wei Xiaobei scolded him in his heart, and told Zhu Xine to follow Huang Kuan. He had a premonition that the danger outside was lesser than the inside. Perhaps he would soon have to enter into a fierce battle. Zhu Xine staying inside would distract him, so it was better to also send her out. Naturally, when Zhu Xine was about to touch the door, Wei Xiaobei did not forget to remind them to not separate, pay attention to danger, and do not provoke large groups of monsters. In short, the rough meaning of his spiel was that he could not be their nanny anymore and they should protect themselves. When Zhu Xine touched the door, she reported her safety from beyond the wall and began to inspect the surroundings with Huang Kuan. Wei Xiaobei turned his attention back to his surroundings. In truth, when Zhu Xine was still with him, he had placed most of his attention on her, but was still paying attention to his surroundings. Although the wooden training dummies were not a threat to him, hitting them directly would still injure him. What made Wei Xiaobei baffled was that the wooden training dummies did not chase after him from beginning to end. When Wei Xiaobei's gaze landed on the door to the inner practice grounds, he finally came to an understanding. A pair of broad axes with flowers engraved on them, around 1 meter long, had appeared upright in front of the door leaning on each other. Just like other monster tools, the pair of broad axes had 2 short legs growing from their handle and 2 long arms growing from under the axe. Seeing Wei Xiaobei's gaze move towards its direction, the 2 axes struck at each other and let out a voice, "Ding, what kind of monster are you? You dare invade this place?" In truth, the axes appeared very strange, and the voice that Wei Xiaobei heard gave him the impression of a strong man with sideburns. Wei Xiaobei remembered from ancient novels that people who wielded these kinds of weapons would always be like that, moreover their speech was almost exactly the same. "I am not a monster, I am a human." Wei Xiaobei felt that he could try communicate with the axes. He remembered the Mingluan envoy and spoke while subtly raising the stone card on his neck, hoping that the other party would see it while continuing with the conversation. After all, being able to communicate was better than killing each other. Perhaps, the monsters might even understand matters about the dust world. However, Wei Xiaobei would never imagine that when he raised the stone card, the axes would actually stand up and strike at each other. Then they jumped more than 10 meters high and split apart. One left and one right, heading towards Wei Xiaobei's direction. Their voices took on the tone of a bandit, "Good stuff. My family will be rich." Without a doubt, compared to the fragmentary speech of the Zhua Guai, the broad axes' personalities were without a doubt bandit-like. Seeing Wei Xiaobei raise the stone card, they immediately charged over as if they felt like the treasure would elevate them to riches. Maybe Wei Xiaobei had miscalculated. In truth, the actions of the broad axes was within Wei Xiaobei's anticipation. If he raised the stone card, the axes would either become friendly like the land god, or attack him. It was clear that the situation had become the latter. In an instant, Wei Xiaobei used precise calculation, and calculated the trajectory of the broad axes. Whoosh! He patted his waist, and the great spear shot out like a bullet. Wei Xiaobei swung out with his hands. The great spear immediately swept upwards, and the spearhead directly hit the left axe. The axe painfully cried out, "That hurts so much." The axe's long arm had been directly cut by the spearhead, making it drop to the ground. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei shook his great spear and swept it in the other direction, towards the right axe. The axe was like a bowling ball that was hit by a club as it instantly flew towards a wooden training dummy, knocking it down. Status appraisal. Wei Xiaobei took this chance to throw a status appraisal at one of the axes in the air. Afterwards, information entered Wei Xiaobei's head. Its name was the Xianhua Broad Axe, Twins, and was a normal 3-star creature. The Xianhua Broad Axe was like the Zhua Guai in that there were only question marks in its attributes, and had 2 visible skills. First was Soaring Kill. This skill allowed them both to rise in the air and launch a joint attack on their opponent. Second was Twin Combine, but its effects were only filled with question marks. However, Wei Xiaobei's brain was a lot better than before. Just the skill name was enough for him to know that he should not let the both of them get close to each other. Thus he made sure to swing away the other axe. At this time, the axe in the air was about to land on Wei Xiaobei's head. It was obvious that it wanted to chop him in half. Bang! Wei Xiaobei raised his great spear and extended it towards the axe with great force. In an instant the spearhead and the axe collided. Heavy. Although the axe was sent flying, the rebound from hitting the axe had numbed Wei Xiaobei's arms. This was in the state where he had already reached 20 points in strength. It was the first time his hands had been numbed like this. From this, it could be seen how strong the axes were. According to his calculations, the axe's strength was above 25 points. If he had faced it head-on instead of flinging it away using the flexibility of his spear, he might have even received internal injuries. Whoosh! 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 Just before the axe landed on the ground, Wei Xiaobei changed the direction of the spearhead and thrust it against the shaft of the other axe that had just stood back up. With 3 strikes, the spear hit the same spot repeatedly, causing sparks on the axe. Afterwards, he entered into a direct confrontation. Wei Xiaobei did his all to prevent the 2 axes from approaching each other, while the axes did their all to attack him. In truth, this was the most head-aching battle that Wei Xiaobei had encountered after entering the dust world. It was different from the Zhuagui. Besides being similar having hands and legs, they did not have a weakness like the Zhuagui's eyes. Moreover, when Wei Xiaobei cut down their arms and legs, it appeared that it did not have any kind of damage against them. The sharp spearhead landed on the axe, but it only left a small white mark. Even when Wei Xiaobei risked and tried to attack it with his bare hands to use electricity, it still did not work. A deadlock in a battle like this would not have an effect on the axes, but for Wei Xiaobei, it meant that the longer he fought, the more stamina he consumed. This would eventually result in his defeat. The worst part was that in a sealed environment like this, Wei Xiaobei could not find a safe place to use the effects of the stone card. In other words, Wei Xiaobei only had one option if he wanted to live: kill the Xianhua Broad Axe. Naturally, this kind of deadlock was not strange. The axe was a normal 3-star creature, while the Zhua Guai was a 2-star terror creature. Additionally, if the axe had a flesh body like other creatures, Wei Xiaobei would have probably been able to create more than 10 holes on its body, but now, he felt like he was at his wit's end. Even Wei Xiaobei did not dare use his powerful Iron Mountain Lean. Doing so would simply mean suicide. If he did so, the axe would not cut him to pieces but in exactly 2 halves. Wei Xiaobei's mind entered overdrive while fighting at the same time. It spun so fast that beads of sweat would flow and dry up quickly. Right. The white mist knife. Wei Xiaobei immediately increased his distance. He swung his spear, sending the two axes flying. His skill was so accurate that he sent each of them in the direction of two wooden training dummies. The wooden training dummies held high-grade monster weapons like the Xianhua broad axe in reverence. However, this attack had enraged the wooden training dummies. Their response was to clamp their hands together and hold on to the axes, making them unable to struggle free from their grasp. Taking this opportunity while the axes were being bound by the training dummies, Wei Xiaobei unscrewed the spearhead and removed it. Then he took out the white mist knife and bound it to the spear handle with rope made from the monster tree's roots. In order to guarantee that the white mist dagger would not fall off from striking, Wei Xiaobei ended up used a lot of strings. In terms of craft, it appeared as if a beehive appeared at the top of the spear, making it look extremely ugly. However, Wei Xiaobei was satisfied with it. Even if it was ugly, it was fine as long as it could be used. At this time, the two axes had broken free from the training dummies. In their rage, they struck against each other once more, merged their handles and became a brand new weapon. Wei Xiaobei had never seen this before, but the threat was not small. It rose in the air and rotated as it landed, cutting apart the two training dummies into fragments. Seeing this scene, Wei Xiaobei tightly grasped the great spear in his hands and waved it a few times to get used to the new weight. For a Guoshu expert like Wei Xiaobei, the difference between a familiar weapon and an unfamiliar weapon was huge. Luckily he was still good. The difference in the weight after changing the spearhead was not huge. The only problem was that the rope binding had increased the spear's air resistance. However, at this moment, Wei Xiaobei did not mind it. After seeing the axes jump up again and descend towards him while rotating, he calculated that he would be able to dodge them. In truth, monster weapons, compared to normal monsters, were a cheat, especially when they combined. If it were humans, they could only hold the axes in their hands and rotate with them at the center. Wanting to make a rotating attack like the combined axe was impossible and could cause dizziness. This is not even counting being able to jump more than 10 meters into the air. It was very clear that although the axes did not have eyes, they were able to feel traces of Wei Xiaobei. Following Wei Xiaobei's movement, the two axes changed their trajectory. Dang! When the axes were about to land on Wei Xiaobei's head, he immediately leapt up a few meters and turned in the air. He brandished the spear in his hand, and struck the axe. Bang! A loud sound echoed as the spear handle hit the Xianhua broad axes. The spear handle shook hard, causing Wei Xiaobei to almost lose his hold on the spear. However, the rotating axes had also been strongly hit by the spear. Their rotation had slowed down, causing them to fall and become half buried in the ground. Taking this chance while the axes were trying to pull themselves out, Wei Xiaobei shouted as he used elementary power burst, causing all his muscles to bulge out. With a single step forward, he immediately thrust the great spear 3 times, striking at the part which the two axes were connected to. Ping! 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 After 3 sounds, the white mist knife appeared to have instantly produced a depression on the axes. The red and green colored mist immediately came out of the knife as it dug into the depression, continuously corroding the axes. The mist slowly turned the originally lustrous axes into rust. Wei Xiaobei's heart jumped. He did not continue attacking and jumped backwards. When Wei Xiaobei jumped back, the combined axes split apart. They appeared to have gone crazy as they launched pincer attacks and swept below Wei Xiaobei's foot. If Wei Xiaobei was slow by half a second, the axes would have directly chopped off Wei Xiaobei's foot. For the axes, the act of combining should be a finisher type of move. After Wei Xiaobei destroyed their move and dodged their crazed attack, they had immediately weakened. Their speed were probably only 50% from before. For Wei Xiaobei, this was a great news. He would take the opportunity to kill the opponent while it was down. He had found this weakness with great difficulty, so he would not show any mercy. If the axes recovered, Wei Xiaobi did not know if he could endure long enough. Although using elementary power burst did not have as huge of a consumption as release electricity, using it would weaken his strength for a period of time. Fighting against the axes would be impossible at that moment. Bang! Wei Xiaobei turned around the spear and smashed the spear's end against the axes. With a loud bang, the axe had been smashed into the ground. Bang! With another loud bang, the other axe was also in the same situation. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei once again reversed his spear and pierced one of the axes. In truth, Wei Xiaobei was a bit worried. He knew that the vibration that had just transmitted into the spear had loosened the binding on the white mist knife. If he used the naked eye to look, it would be hard to find, but he could feel it through the spear handle. This was how sharp Guoshua experts were when it came to their own weapons. The spear turned into a line without any bends as the white mist knife hit the axe. Ding! A long narrow jag appeared on the axe. Ding! Ding! The jag grew larger after 2 dings. However, at this moment, the binding on the white mist knife could not endure the continuous striking anymore. This had caused the white mist knife to shoot out after the last hit. Wei Xiaobei had never taken the knife shooting out into consideration. He turned around and smashed the other axe into the ground, preventing its ambush. Pop! The flying knife had thrust into an unlucky wooden training dummy. After a few seconds, Wei Xiaobei moved forward and pulled out the knife. The wooden training dummy had raised its hands and tried to smash down at Wei Xiaobei, but it was easily evaded. If it was normal times, Wei Xiaobei would have taken the opportunity to kill the wooden training dummy. But now, how could he have the time to do so? He immediately turned around and threw himself at the dented axe. The axe had already pulled itself out of the ground. Seeing Wei Xiaobei come over, the axe seized the opportunity to chop at him. Whoosh! The spear that lost its spearhead struck at the axe. Wei Xiaobei could not suppress the rebounding force with just one hand on the spear, causing the spear to fly away. However, in the next moment, Wei Xiaobei threw himself at the axe and stabbed at it with the knife. Bang! 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 Wei Xiaobei had accurately stabbed the dent 3 times. After receiving this heavy attack, several fragments of different sizes broke from the axe. A dull yellow liquid came out from it. Wei Xiaobei became happy when he saw it. After using so much effort, he had finally injured the axe. At this moment, Wei Xiaobei did not pay any attention to the other axe and continued his pursuit. He borrowed the power of elementary power burst, that had not yet dissipated to fiercely chase and stab the axe. His hard work was worth it as he immediately reaped the rewards. When the last hit landed, the white mist knife had directly punctured through the axe. Yellow liquid sprayed out from the hole, covering the white mist knife as the white mist knife absorbed it. The axe had completely lost all signs of life. It dropped off the white mist knife and fell on the ground without moving anymore. Wei Xiaobei had gained 500 evolution points. Without a doubt, the evolution points was not that much compared to the axe's strength. It must be known that a 2-star terror creature like the Dang Kong gave him 300 evolution points. However, Wei Xiaobei did not have the time to consider this question as the other axe had pulled itself out of the ground. It immediately chopped toward his back. Wei Xiaobei dodged without looking back and stabbed it. Bang! The white mist knife hit the axe head, causing it to deviate from its original trajectory. The axe landed at Wei Xiaobei's side. The next thing that happened startled Wei Xiaobei. In an instant, the axe's strength seemed to have largely diminished. Perhaps it had a relation to twins dying together. This thought entered Wei Xiaobei's head, but he did not hesitate. He crouched and pressed the axe firmly to the ground with his left hand. No matter how the axe struggled, he would not loosen his hold. Then with his right hand, he stabbed the axe with the white mist knife. The sound of a large force echoed around the practice ground. In truth, Wei Xiaobei was worried that the white mist knife would break when the sound came out. However, he was already at this point. Let alone the knife breaking, he would not hesitate even if his hand broke. The axe that had received a fatal threat struggled under Wei Xiaobei's hand with all its life. If the effects of elementary power burst had disappeared, then the axe would have already escaped and showed Wei Xiaobei a good time. Naturally, even if it struggled, its strength had already largely declined. Bang! The white mist knife that continuously stabbed the axe finally created a loud sound. The axe stopped struggling as the knife penetrated the axe. Just like the other axe, it sprayed out a yellow liquid that was then absorbed by the white mist knife. It's finally over. He had gained 500 evolution points from it. Wei Xiaobei slightly relaxed as he gasped for breath. He dragged the axe's corpse to the edge of the line. At this time, the effects of elementary power burst had disappeared. Its side effect had made Wei Xiaobei's body feel tired. If he accidentally provoked a wooden training dummy, then the joke would be on him. Something feels wrong with my hand. Wei Xiaobei, whose entire body had relaxed, examined the white mist knife. At this time, the white mist knife was still penetrated in the axe, but the mist on top of it had continuously spread around the axe, as if it was combining with it. Wei Xiaobei inspected the axe with his ability, and information immediately appeared in his mind. Name: White Mist Knife. Description: this item is currently in a state of fast evolution. All effects are sealed. Adding more materials would result in a better evolution. Effect 1, Sharp, sealed. Effect 2, Corrosion, sealed. After inspecting the white mist knife, Wei Xiaobei had an understanding as he looked at the first axe that had been penetrated. However, the position of the axe was bad as the wooden training dummy would wander over from time to time. Wei Xiaobei looked at the wooden training dummy, and numbers quickly flashed in his head as he calculated the optimum time to move. Finally, Wei Xiaobei made his move. He ran as fast as a leopard and moved to the axe. He extended his hand and grasped the 1-meter-long axe in his hands. Afterwards, when the wooden training dummy reacted, Wei Xiaobei had already leapt back and also picked up the leg hair that was previously sent flying. This fast movement had made Wei Xiaobei's body be covered in sweat when he returned to the line. The residual effects of using elementary power burst was strong. In just one round trip, Wei Xiaobei felt that his legs were beginning to cramp. He could not help but place all the materials together with the white mist knife. Afterwards, he rubbed his own legs. He used a lot of strength to do so, which made his face twitch. After rubbing for a while, his legs had recovered. At this time, Wei Xiaobei took a break and began eating the roast meat in his backpack. The roast meat was one of the remaining pieces of meat that he cooked for the Mingluan envoy. Now was a good time to eat it. After taking 2 bites, Wei Xiaobei thought about his disciples and called out to them, Zhu Xine, Huang Kuan, are both of you still there? Are you still okay? After a while, the 2 people outside responded. Master, are you okay? We met some zombies and green dwarfs outside. There were no problems. The voice was Zhu Xine's. Huang Kuan also responded, Master, be rest assured. With me here, nothing will happen to Sister Xine. Where did he get his self-confidence from? I'm fine. In a while, I will give you some roasted meat. Don't go too far. Wei Xiaobei spoke and looked at the inner practice grounds. The wooden training dummies that he had previously killed were still there, but they had already rotted, riddled with holes. Wei Xiaobei carefully approached them. Luckily, there was a bit of distance to the other wooden training dummies, so he did not alarm them. He pulled the rotting corpse back while circulating his qi. Then he hit the corpse with his palm. The place where the rotting wooden training dummy was hit instantly turned into fragments. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei continued this action, quickly turning the large wood into small fragments. He piled them all up and extended his left hand. A burst of electricity came out, causing a blue flame to emerge from the fragments. What surprised Wei Xiaobei was that as the intensity of the flame increased, the other wooden training dummies stood up. They all moved away from the fire, and crowded in one area, unwilling to move towards his direction. Without a doubt, the bonfire was perceived as a threat by them. Although the bonfire in front of them was in actual fact not a problem at all since they could easily extinguish it, they were still unwilling to approach it. This had made Wei Xiaobei feel a lot safer. Throwing the wooden training dummies to the back of his mind, Wei Xiaobei took out the boar meat from his small holding bag. He turned one of the smoother wooden fragments into a chopping board. He pulled out the army knife that he had not used for a long time and began cutting the boar meat into strips. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei skewered the boar meat with the leg hair spear. Although it was disgusting to think about the origin, it was difficult to connect its shape to a leg hair. One should just bear with it. After all, it was perfect since fire did not affect it. After turning them over and adding a bit of salt, the fragrance of the meat mixed with the grease spread throughout the place. If his two disciples were to see their master sitting in a place where there were strong enemies and cooking meat, their chins would probably fall down from seeing how calm he was. The time he took to roast the meat was not long. After cooking them, he looked at his own status panel. Cooking, intermediate, fragrant dishes, 26/100. Ignoring the accumulated amount of food he cooked before entering the dust world, the spear handle packed full of meat had added 6 dishes to the skills requirement. This was already not too bad. Wei Xiaobei wrapped the meat in plastic and called out to Zhu Xine. Then, he estimated their location and threw out the plastic bag filled with cooked meat. In a few seconds, the sound of the plastic hitting the ground could be heard. Not long after, Huang Kun roared, "Disgusting zombies, get out of my way. Do not take my meat." After the sound of hand-to-hand combat sounded, Zhu Xine told Wei Xiaobei that they were okay, causing him to relax. The amount of meat should be enough for the two of them to eat for a day. After all, their appetites summed together could not beat Wei Xiaobei. While cooking, Wei Xiaobei's eyes did not leave the doors of the inner practice ground. However, seeing that the doors did not open and that there were no other movements, Wei Xiaobei temporarily relaxed. He split his attention between the door and roasting meat. Although his small holding bag could hold 1 cubic meter of items, the space itself did not have any shape. Anything that would be placed inside, would just be deducted from the total space. Moreover, the items did not appear to touch each other and had their own independent paces. For example, when he placed the salt inside, it did not touch the meat and did not decrease in amount. This made the space incredibly useful. Thus 1 cubic meter should not be looked down upon. In truth, it could actually store a lot of things. Afterwards, Wei Xiaobei took out more meat, cooked them, and placed them back inside the small holding bag. After the boar meat became cooked meat, there the space it took up decreased, opening up a bit of space inside the bag. After busying himself for a long time, Wei Xiaobei looked at his status panel. Now, his cooking skill was already deep red, and the fragrant food requirement had filled up to 200/200. Gu took a look at his evolution points. Because he had killed the 2 Xianhua broad axes, Wei Xiaobei's evolution points had increased from 0 to 1000. He concentrated on the cooking skill, causing his newly gained evolution points to decrease. When his evolution points decreased by 200 points, his cooking skill increased from intermediate to advanced. Cooking, advanced, colorful dishes, 0/300. Seeing the next requirements to raise his skill, Wei Xiaobei frowned. Colorful dishes? In simpler terms, this was to cook dishes with a nice appearance. Moreover, he needed to cook 300 dishes. The amount of effort this would take was not small at all. Thinking about it, Wei Xiaobei took out one piece of roasted meat and used a tree branch to skewer it. Then he cooked it over the dimming flame of the bonfire, meticulously cooking it until it was golden before putting it away. It could be said that this single skewer was Wei Xiaobei's best cooking work yet. However, it did not increase the count at all even though it was a success. This meant that something went wrong. This also meant that Wei Xiaobei could not rely on the method of mass cooking meat anymore. Colorful should mean design and not the color of the food. Thinking about this, Wei Xiaobei felt his head ache. It seems that finding work as a chef should be his first priority after leaving the dust world. Moreover, he did not know if Huang Kuan's family's fast food company would meet his requirements. If not, he needed to find a better plan. Naturally, cooking alone in the dojo and eating the food by himself was inefficient. The crucial point was that the amount of people eating were too few. He did not want to waste food just for the sake of this skill. As someone who had read Li Shen's sympathy for peasants, Wei Xiaobei was too unwilling. Thus he chose to work for a restaurant. After pondering for a while, Wei Xiaobei extended his hand into his bag and took out the 3 woodman hearts that he had obtained. He had already left it in his bag for a long time. Woodman heart, wooden training dummy's heart. Created by condensing the body's entire essence. After eating, there is a chance to obtain the passive ability from the wooden training dummy's wooden skin that increases defense by 50%. On failure, earn 0.3 points in both muscle and endurance, and all sub-attributes in agility decrease by 0.3 points. Each woodman heart can only work once, any further bites will have no effect. This item could be considered a treasure. Wei Xiaobei thought a bit and placed it beside his mouth. He took a deep breath and ate it in one go as if he was eating a bitter pill, and swallowed it immediately. In a short time, Wei Xiaobei started to feel pain in his stomach. Afterwards, he felt as if his stomach was continuously being cut open by countless knives. It was so painful that Wei Xiaobei began to grip the pit of his stomach for dear life. This side effect had not been in the descriptions. Wei Xiaobei composed himself and sunk his consciousness as he looked at his. Compared to looking at his blood channels, this move was the same but the effects were different. Wei Xiaobei could faintly see that there were countless lines that had appeared on his stomach and were moving all over his body. Anywhere that the line passed, Wei Xiaobei would feel a sharp pain that would cause him to have a momentary lapse in consciousness. In the end, when the lines moved to his head, Wei Xiaobei had completely sunk into a place where he could not even sense the outside world. However, he was not afraid because he had immediately activated response search. As he used the skill, information about his surroundings entered his brain. The wooden training dummies had not moved towards Wei Xiaobei and tried to kill him just because he was on the ground. Inside the inner practice ground, the various monster weapons were still leisurely rocking about everywhere. He could even see that some of the weapons were fighting each other. However, their fights would be immediately suppressed by stronger weapons. Past the wall, Huang Kuan and Zhu Xine were fighting the zombies. Huang Kuan fought with the machete in his hand. He was already a lot stronger compared to the last time he entered. He could now kill a zombie with just 2 slashes. In a one-on-one, he could kill the zombies with just 1 chop. Naturally, after killing for a certain amount of time, Huang Kuan would return back to Zhu Xine's side to take a break and recover his stamina. Zhu Xine was much more relaxed. The 10 treeman saplings under her command had formed an encirclement that trapped every zombie around her. Additionally, she had also charmed 3 zombies and commanded them to assist the saplings to kill other zombies. The fighting ability of the zombies were not great, so Zhu Xine later realized that she would rather cut down the zombies than waste her energy trying to charm them. Wei Xiaobei expanded the effects of his response search. He suddenly saw 3 youths in a street corner. Why do they look familiar? Wei Xiaobei immediately tried searching in his memories. With his retentive memory, Wei Xiaobei was able to quickly remember the three youths. The memory had not even been from a week ago. Expressway. BMW. Glasses Man. The three youths were the ones they encountered in the expressway who had attempted to take liberties with Zhu Xine, but were the ones who had been beaten senseless by her. Why are these three people in the dust world? Wei Xiaobei was slightly curious, but did not probe into this question any further. The thin lines had already filled up his entire body, and his body seemed to have some slight changes. In an instant the change completely finished. The thin lines vanished from his body, but he could still feel their existence, as if they had become an invisible structure in his body from then on. At this moment, Wei Xiaobei had recovered full control of his body, so he cancelled his search response. The consumption of this ability was second only to elementary power burst. However, it was not only his physical strength that was sapped, but also his mental strength. Wei Xiaobei did not dare activate this ability continuously. After regaining control, the first thing he did was to tell the two people killing zombies outside that the bastards from the expressway had entered into the dust world. Zhu Xine was startled but did not respond at the fact that the glasses man had found his way into the dust world. What she knew though, was that the three people were probably dragged into the dust world. Wei Xiaobei had successfully eaten the woodman heart. When he looked at his status panel, there were no changes to his attributes, but a new special skill appeared. Web of Roots. This ability is an internal defensive system obtained after eating a woodman heart. All initial internal and external physical damage will be halved, but after receiving continuous attacks, the effect will gradually weaken. Thinking about it, Wei Xiaobei grabbed the army knife and lightly cut himself. Under this cut, he could clearly feel the resistance of his skin against the cut had increased by a lot. After using a bit more strength, a thread of blood appeared on his body, but it was quickly staunched thanks to his strong self-recovery ability. This skill was not bad. Although it was only against physical damage, it was still able to decrease it by half. Naturally, Wei Xiaobei was a human being. His body's defenses could not beat a sacred beetle's or even other monsters' defense. However, with this ability, he could prevent some very fatal injuries. After rubbing his hand for a bit, the scab easily fell off. Next, Wei Xiaobei moved his attention to the white mist knife. When he first saw it, he thought that he had seen an illusion. The two Xianhua broad axes and the white mist knife had disappeared. What replaced them was a blood-red mist floating on the ground that would at times undulate up and down. Wei Xiaobei hesitated. He extended his hand towards the blood-red mist. When he grabbed it, a new entry appeared in his items on hand. White Mist Dagger, pending the evolution of this item has already been completed. Awaiting for the form to be decided by the owner. The owner can use the mind to shape the weapon. Limited to only sharp weapons. So it was like that. Seeing the description, Wei Xiaobei understood now. He needed to use his mind to decide the shape of the weapon, only then would it have a shape. Since it was limited to sharp weapons, Wei Xiaobei pulled out the spearhead from the small holding bag. He looked at it and made a design in his mind. Very quickly, a prototype spearhead appeared in his mind. The spearhead, at its base state, used the original spearhead as the template. However, Wei Xiaobei changed it into a three-pronged spearhead. He also deepened the grooves to increase bleeding in his opponents. When Wei Xiaobei finally decided on the final shape after many revisions in his mind, the blood-red mist began to quickly change. When the change speed reached its peak, a bright red light with mist shot out. Even Wei Xiaobei needed to close his eyes to block the red light. When the light disappeared, Wei Xiaobei took a look and saw a white spearhead with white mist surrounding it. Wei Xiaobei stretched out his hand and grabbed onto the spearhead, but the next moment, a piercing pain came from his hand. He felt as if there was a hole in his hand with blood flowing out. Without a doubt, this was the spearhead taking in his blood. Wei Xiaobei was surprised and he immediately used status appraisal. Name, White Mist Spearhead, high quality. Description, this item was evolved from a white mist knife. Effect 1, penetrating. Decreases enemy's defense. Effect 2, bleeding. Increase the result of striking the enemy's vitals. Effect 3, corrosion. Miss draconic horse's poison. Effect 4, twins. Can create a partner spearhead once a week. Partner spearhead can be used separately or combined with the white mist spearhead. When this effect is activated, the effects of the spearhead will be doubled for a period of time. Effect 5, owner recognition. This item will initially drain 1/3 of the owner's blood. After recognition is completed, this item will always return to the owner's hand once a certain distance is exceeded. Compared to the white mist knife, the white mist spearhead had changed into a different appearance, but it was not only that. The original sharp effect had become penetrating and could decrease the enemy's defenses. Bleeding and corrosion were self-explanatory. The twin effect, on the other hand, should be from the Xian Hua broad axes. The partner spearhead could be used separately or combined with the original. Moreover, it would increase the effects of the original by twofold. This was without a doubt a powerful killing ability. The fifth effect, owner recognition, was also a very useful effect. It would automatically return once its distance from Wei Xiao Bei reached a certain amount. This had increased the amount of things Wei Xiao Bei could do with it. Moreover, he did not need to worry about losing it. However, the requirement of 1/3 of his blood gave him a headache. He was already quite weak after using elementary power burst. Although he had somewhat recovered, the continuous blood loss from the requirement had made his body feel even weaker. Once the white mist spearhead stopped drawing blood, Wei Xiao Bei hurriedly opened his palm to take a look, but a wave of dizziness came through, almost causing Wei Xiao Bei to collapse. He closed his eyes and let himself recover a bit more before looking at the spearhead once more. The white spearhead did not appear to reflect light, looking like frosted glass. Touching it felt like touching rough grains of sand. Moreover, the three groves were an incredible red as if human blood was flowing through them. Actually, Wei Xiao Bei originally thought of turning it into a halberd, but there was a reason why halberds were not mainstream weapons. Compared to great spears, a halberd had an axe as the spear head. It looked like its killing power would be increased, but in reality, it increased the difficulty of wielding it. In truth, if he really wanted to mold it into a halberd, it would have been better to just mold it into a Chinese halberd. However, what he learnt was just the great spear and not the Chinese halberd. Even if he wanted to learn how to use the Chinese halberd, he would not know where he could learn it. For a weapon like the Chinese halberd, many of the techniques were already lost. The most eye-grabbing thing about the spearhead was the white mist shrouded around it. After the knife evolved, the mist had returned to the color white. High quality. Wei Xiao Bei thought for a bit and knew that the white mist referred to the quality of the spearhead. It was like how the small holding bag was of normal quality. Wei Xiao Bei took out the spear handle and attacked the spearhead. When the two things combined, the name had turned into White Mist Leg Hair Great Spear. Wei Xiao Bei looked at the name and wrinkled his eyebrows. In truth, both Long Bow Leg Hair Great Spear and White Mist Leg Hair Great Spear were awful names. However, he was not able to change it. Thus, he threw this matter to the back of his mind. The effects of the White Mist Leg Hair Great Spear was almost the same as the White Mist Spearhead. The only thing added was its toughness and flexibility which came from the long bow's leg hair. Luckily, the owner recognition was still in effect. If he installed the spearhead and needed to give blood again, he did not know if he should just return to the real world first or not. Additionally, the twin effect did not change. It was still for the spearhead and not Great Spear. With a new Great Spear, Wei Xiao Bei could not resist the itch in his heart to try it. He looked for a wooden training dummy and thrust it at it. As previously said, the reaction and speed of the wooden training dummies was much slower than him. Even if Wei Xiaobei was weak at the moment, he was still stronger than the wooden training dummy. Poochie. The foot-long spearhead reached the wooden training dummy's chest in an instant. With a light wound, the shaped spearhead instantly penetrated in. The thick chest of the wooden training dummy was now like tofu, and the spear had penetrated through it. Before the blue liquid flowed out of the wooden training dummy, it had already been absorbed by the spearhead. Afterwards, a blue mist appeared on the spearhead and extended all the way to below the spear. Then the mist enveloped the entire spear, entered it and then disappeared. Wei Xiaobei raised his brows and used status appraisal on the spear. Just as he thought. Following the wooden training dummy's death, the spear had absorbed its body fluids and made the entire spear enter into a state of continual evolution. It was the entire spear that had now entered the state of continual evolution and not only the spearhead. In other words, the spearhead and the spear handle were gradually merging. At this time, Wei Xiaobei noticed that his luck was truly not bad. A woodman heart the size of a finger floated up from the wooden training dummy's chest. He immediately grabbed it and placed it into his small holding bag. This great spear is simply a magical weapon. Wei Xiaobei was in ecstasy. The wooden training dummies might be clumsy and dim-witted, but their defense and strength were real. After all, they were entirely made of thick wood. Who knew that the white mist leg hair great spear would be able to pass through in an instant without any resistance and kill the enemy? The change was simply too big. As a result, the wooden training dummies in the outer practice ground had become the best way for Wei Xiaobei to gain evolution points. However, after killing 2 wooden training dummies, a huge feeling of threat came from behind him. When he turned around, the inner practice ground doors had opened. A red tassel great spear stood at the door. Although it did not have eyes, Wei Xiaobei could feel the great spear's eyes on his body. This made his entire body feel extremely uncomfortable. What strong power! Just based on feeling, Wei Xiaobei could conclude that the great spear had already exceeded a normal 3-star creature. At the very least, it should be a 3-star elite creature. Go out. We do not welcome you. The voice of the great spear was like metal grinding on stone. Following the voice, a stone door appeared at the side. Wei Xiaobei could faintly feel that the great spear was slightly afraid of him. There was no doubt that the great spear was a lot stronger than the broad axes, but it did not take the initiative to attack and only used words, attempting to drive away Wei Xiaobei. Without a doubt, as long as Wei Xiaobei touched the door, he would be immediately sent out. Wei Xiaobei hesitated. If he left the place, then he did not know if he could enter the dust world from the dojo anymore. However, the problem here was obvious. If he insisted on staying there, the great spear would most likely not leave the matter be. The other problem was that Wei Xiaobei was not in his peak condition. If he was, there would be nothing to worry about. However, his strength had decreased by around 2/3. Facing an enemy like this would just be courting death. The worst part was that he could see the weapons in the inner practice ground surrounding the winged sword. It was easy to imagine that if he defeated the great spear, then the other weapons would probably charge out. He would not be able to defend against that. Wei Xiaobei was angry, but in the end, he could not help but yield to the threat of the great spear. He stared at the great spear as he touched the door. In an instant, Wei Xiaobei saw a wall in front of him. There was no doubt that he had been teleported out in an instant. He first observed the surroundings, but he did not find the stone door, nor any trace of Huang Kun and Zhu Xine. He only saw zombie corpses lying on the ground everywhere. He was not worried about their safety since he had already warned them. If they encountered danger that they could not face, they should immediately give a signal. As for being sent out like this, Wei Xiaobei was concealing his anger. Thus, Wei Xiaobei attempted to find a way to go back inside. He stamped on the ground and leapt up. When it appeared that he was about to jump over the wall suddenly grew taller, preventing him from seeing anything inside. Against this, he was not the slightest bit discouraged. He fastened himself onto the wall and pulled himself up. However, the next thing that happened was the same as before, the wall once again grew taller. When Wei Xiaobei landed on the ground, the wall returned to normal, as if it had not changed at all. Even Wei Xiaobei's footprints on the wall had disappeared. Wei Xiaobei punched at the wall, causing a loud boom. With his strength, the weak wall should not be able to block him. However, the wall did not move a single jolt. Even the dust did not land on it. Iron Mountain lean. Bang! 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 3 consecutive times. He gathered enough energy that would have destroyed a tree, but the wall still did not move. At this time, Wei Xiaobei understood that the wall was not a normal wall. It should have some mysteries within it, or it was the same existence as the lime line. He did not have a way to break that kind of existence. Wei Xiaobei thought about it and placed this matter at the back of his mind. How Xin, a famous general, was able to endure humiliation so this situation should not matter to him. After mocking himself, Wei Xiaobei placed the great spear into his small holding bag. After looking around, he found a few footprints and followed the direction it was going. God of the heavens! Why are you teasing me like this? No matter what is said, I, Yi Langcheng, am still one of the handsome kings during this generation, right? I was so unlucky a few days ago. I brought my 2 brothers to go highway racing and saw an old minivan ahead of me. Naturally, I overtook them. Mocking the other side after overtaking, now that was invigorating. You, old minivan, actually dare to get on the highway? Eh? A girl is in the passenger seat, wow. A tender girl. I must seize her. Hey, beauty. Don't you want to ride in my car and go for a spin with me? With my uninhibited expression and confidence, I should be able to seize this girl. Naturally, the most important part was still the BMW. Ignoring me? Now, I'm mad. I stepped on the pedal and turned the wheel. Boom! The old minivan hit my beloved car. Beauty, what should we do now that you had crashed into my car? If you accompany me for a day, this matter can be negotiated. Just thinking about it made me unable to endure my excitement. Ah! What is happening? Did my eyes blur? My crotch was in pain, and I fainted. Before I fainted, I heard the sound of my brothers going down as well. The matter in the expressway could be considered my shame. I will definitely find that girl. And then I will do this and that. Letting her remember to never provoke me. Yi Langcheng. I will make her unable to live in this world. However, this girl appeared to have hidden quite deep. With my strength, I am actually unable to find her. Even the old minivan seemed to have vanished. How is this possible? However, my luck seemed to be quite bad these few days. Today, I drank wine with my brothers, but we were beaten again. A group of second-year junior middle schoolers came and said they learned martial arts before. Their moves were fierce. My arms are now in pain. Something's wrong. What is happening? Where am I? How could everything appear so ruined and covered in dust? Could I have been dumped somewhere by those middle schoolers? Save me. Save me. It's my bro's voice. What is that? A lunatic? It's a zombie. God of the heavens, are you playing with me? After eliminating the zombies, Huang Kuan and Zhu Xine walked toward Yi Langcheng's direction. At this moment, Yi Langcheng and his 2 brothers were in a miserable fight with a zombie. The 2 of them pressed down on the zombie from behind while Yi Langcheng was kicking the zombie's head. In the end, when the 2 of them arrived, the zombie had been kicked to death by Yi Langcheng. However, the 3 of them were frightened to death. Although they would joke about this in reality, when they finally killed the first one, they were horrified and their entire bodies trembled like newborn deers. Even when Zhu Xine and Huang Kun appeared, the two of them could not respond. Huang Kun knew about the three of them from Zhu Xine. Huang Kun was an only child, so he treated Zhu Xine as his own sister. Moreover, they had already worked together in the dust world a few times. Hearing that they were the people disrespectful to her, he became angry, thus he was unhappy when he saw them. Terrified? Gutless. When Huang Kun said this, his face was full of disdain, but he had forgotten that his performance the first time he encountered a zombie was no better than theirs. Tender girl. Yi Langcheng came to his senses after being told off by Huang Kun. He did not shut his mouth, but the words that came out of his mouth made him want to slap himself. Where would you find a tender girl that would kick you in the crotch during the first meeting? How was this a tender girl? It was simply a tigress. What? You want to receive another thrashing? Huang Kun never imagined that Zhu Xine would act like a gang leader. Her words were not similar to her style at all. As a hedonistic son of rich parents, Yi Langcheng had never suffered before. He had been kicked in the expressway, mocked by a brat here, and looked down upon by a girl. When he surveyed below him, Yi Langcheng saw a brick and picked it up, and he prepared to charge at Zhu Xine. At this moment, he did not even care about her being a girl. He will let out his rage before talking again. However, he never imagined that when he just took 2 steps, he saw a few zombies appearing behind Zhu Xine and Huang Kun. Zombies. Towards these things, Yi Langcheng had an irrepressible fear. One of them was fine, but a few more would not. On the other hand, the treeman saplings moving behind the zombies had completely overturned his worldview. What is actually happening? How could saplings move? Could I be dreaming? There must be a ghost. Without waiting for Yi Langcheng to do anything, his 2 brothers each took one of his arms, turned around, and ran away. So many monsters have appeared, why are you still standing there? It could be said that Yi Langcheng's 2 brothers were much more better at judging the situation. Naturally, they were too firm that they could not differentiate these monsters were being controlled. The 3 of them ran and disappeared at the end of the road. Seeing this scene, Huang Kun let out a bitter smile. These 3 idiots, I really don't know what to say about them. Although Zhu Xine's expression was cold, her words still carried a bit of impatience. One of them was bit by a zombie. It serves them right. Dying in the dust world would be better for them. This would prevent them from going back to reality and harm more people. Towards Yi Langcheng and the other 2, Huang Kun did not have a good impression on them at all. Thus his words become poisonous. At this time, Wei Xiaobei caught up with the 2 and relaxed when he saw that Zhu Xine and Huang Kun were in good health. This did not mean that Wei Xiaobei could not necessarily lose them, but they were still his disciples. In the dust world, they would also provide him company, so he was also unwilling for something bad to happen to them. What happened? Wei Xiaobei's question made Huang Kun recount all of what just happened. After shaking his head, Wei Xiaobei patted Zhu Xine's shoulder. This is also their fate. Taking care of themselves in the dust world and continuing to live on is already good. Zhu Xine did not reply, but her face blushed as she nodded. Seeing Zhu Xine, Huang Kun and Wei Xiaobei felt that she was fine. He pulled out the other machete and walked ahead, preparing to inspect the dojo's surroundings. Although he had used response search in the practice grounds, he had only used it once to look 10 meters around Zhu Xine and Huang Kun to save his mental strength, so he did not notice the rest of the surroundings. Naturally, using it now was not a problem, but he did not want to leave the dust world at the moment. However, he did have a sore spot for Yi Langcheng and the others. Wei Xiaobei did not look favorably upon them at all. Even if they died, then it was their fate, so he did not want to get involved. Because Zhu Xine had charmed many zombies and treeman saplings, their speed was gradually slowing down. Wei Xiaobei thought for a bit and spilled out the things in his backpack. He then carefully arranged the things inside. He placed the useless things like the monster tree roots into the small holding bag. He only left a bit of food and water in the backpack. Afterwards he checked the weight and gave the backpack to Zhu Xine. Zhu Xine was stunned as she saw her master. She wanted to say something, but she was cut off by him. This backpack is still useful. You should carry it instead, there are food and water inside. Wei Xiaobei's words were clear. The backpack was Zhu Xine's insurance in case she got lost. Wei Xiaobei understood that anything could happen in the dust world. He did not dare say that he could continue protecting them forever. Since Huang Kuan had the flash drive, he did not have to worry about him. But Zhu Xine did not have anything, so he gave her the backpack. Luckily, the backpack was adjustable, so Zhu Xine did not have to drag it on the ground. Even so, Zhu Xine's appearance with the backpack was so adorable that Wei Xiaobei had to consciously move his line of sight. After walking for a bit, a group of green dwarfs appeared and attempted to surround Huang Kuan. The weapons they were wielding were different from the ones in the grassland. The ones they had were pans, bowls, ladles, and whatnot. Without waiting for Huang Kuan to go forward, they threw the things at him, putting Huang Kuan in a bit of a dilemma. Seeing the appearance of the green dwarfs, Wei Xiaobei did not make his move. He simply held the machete on the side, and watched how his disciples would move. Although the green dwarfs that appeared were few and they were weak, their speed was faster than a zombie. They could be considered the best sparring partners for his disciples. After throwing junk at Huang Kuan, the green dwarfs picked up the bricks from the side of the wall and threw them. At this moment, Huang Kuan had already hid behind the treeman saplings, while the zombies at the front were all heavily struck by the bricks. The unluckiest zombie had its head smashed by a brick and instantly died. Towards this loss, Zhu Xine did not have any regrets. After all, zombies were only good for scaring normal people. Their speed, strength and other aspects were trash. They were only just good enough once their numbers increased. However, being bitten by them was fatal, so they carried a major intimidation against humans. The problem was that the green dwarfs were not afraid of being bitten and turned into zombies at all. So, using zombies to deal with monsters of the dust world was quite useless. The only reason Zhu Xine charmed them was to make them cannon fodder to protect her saplings. She was continuously commanded the saplings to keep pressuring the green dwarfs while also charming them. After using charm countless times, Zhu Xine had a bit of understanding from her experience, and Wei Xiaobei had also been there to give her pointers. Monsters from the same race were not produced from a factory assembly line. There were weaker ones and stronger ones. If she could control a stronger one, it was always better than controlling a weaker one. Additionally, her master also said that within the one-star creatures, the strongest would be the fishman guard, young Zhua Guai, monster tree, black scorpion, and even the zombie dog. Unfortunately, these monsters were not as easy to approach. After taking control of two strong green dwarfs, she began her counterattack. The two newly charmed green dwarfs became traitors of the group. The bricks in their hands were now turned against the head of their old allies. Their moves were fierce, as if they were like middle schoolers who watched too many gangster films. Being ambushed by their comrades, the green dwarfs who were all at their own pace immediately stopped throwing bricks. The braver green dwarfs threw the bricks at the traitors, while the cowards ran. It was complete chaos. The saplings, however, had already been stationed at the main points and surrounded the green dwarfs. Huang Kuan also raised his machete and began killing. At this point in time, it could be said that the two disciples were already victorious. The group of 30 green dwarfs, other than a few that ran away, were all caught in the net. Zhu Xine, though, did not charm the rest of the green dwarfs. This was also part of Wei Xiaobei's advice. Instead of controlling more cannon fodder, why not save your strength to control better monsters? Moreover, it was impossible to gain points from charmed monsters, so it would be better to just kill them all, and eventually increase one's status and becoming a 2-star creature. When that happened, Zhu Xianyi's charm ability would truly flourish. She could control large groups of lickers, fire crows, wooden training dummies, and even gargoyles and dangkangs. Her fighting ability would become incomparable to before. Moreover, for the current her, relying on charm was not a good thing as it would be difficult to improve oneself with it. Thus, Wei Xiaobei told her to kill at least one monster with her own hands in every battle. In this battle, Zhu Xianyi had killed more than 10 green dwarfs with her machete, reaching the quota. In truth, Wei Xiaobei was suspicious of the appearance of these green dwarfs and zombies. According to his own understanding, the zombies should be based in Chuihu University extending towards the city center. The green dwarfs too, had placed themselves in the grassland. Now, both groups of monsters had actually run over to the dojo. Could it be that the dojo is close to both places in the dust world? Whether this guess was correct or not, Wei Xiaobei told Zhu Xianyi and Huang Kun to increase their vigilance. After all, the appearance of the green dwarfs was not a problem, but the appearance of the zombies were. This was due to the possible appearance of lickers and other higher-leveled zombie creatures. There seems to be a dog in front. Huang Kun called out in surprise. Wei Xiaobei looked at it and knocked on Huang Kun's head. Look carefully, that's a zombie dog. Huang Kun's eyes appeared to be a bit bad, but it was slowly getting better thanks to the benefits of the dust world. Zhu Xianyi stared at it and confirmed that it was indeed a zombie dog. At that moment it was biting and gnawing on a corpse with its mouth that expanded like a flower. In truth, this scene would have made Zhu Xianyi vomit out the jerky that she just ate if it was in the past. But now, she did not feel disturbed at all. On the contrary, she became excited. She remembered that the zombie dog was a strong monster. If she could charm it, then her battle strength would increase. Seeing that Zhu Xianyi was about to charm it, Huang Kun did not attack. The only 2 remaining zombies guarded the front while 10 saplings formed a semicircle. Huang Kun stood behind to protect Zhu Xianyi while the last 2 green dwarfs became the last line of defense. This could not be helped. With her current charm ability, the maximum distance she could reach was 10 meters. This distance was only an instant to the zombie dog, so she had to be cautious. Wei Xiaobei had already jumped on top of a roof to check the surroundings. As they approached the dog, it stopped eating and looked up, looking in Zhu Xianyi's direction. Zombies were creatures that relied on their hearing to perceive information. Without a doubt, the zombie dog had noticed the approaching zombies and saplings. Crash! The rotting zombie dog charged over towards her direction and bit the closest zombie. Wei Xiaobei was a bit puzzled as he looked at the scene. He did not know how the zombie dog differentiated between foes and allies. Could it be that zombies charmed by Zhu Xianyi had some changes that made them different from normal zombies? And could these changes only be perceived by zombie-type creatures? No matter what was said, the zombie dog fought with the zombie. If it was a human being that was bit by a zombie dog, they would have already collapsed from the pain. But a zombie being bit by a zombie dog did not have any pain effect. When the zombie dog bit the zombie's left shoulder, the zombie tightly hugged the zombie dog with its right hand, attempting to bite the zombie dog. The other zombie also approached and attacked the zombie dog. The zombie dog struggled and escaped from the zombie's grasp, causing rotten flesh and dog fur to fall from its body. Then it turned around and attacked the other zombie. While the zombie dog was occupied by the 2 zombies, Zhu Xianyi urged the saplings to surround them. Luckily, the zombie dog did not have a brain. If it was another monster, they would have already tried to escape after seeing their enemy's enclosure. The treeman saplings had formed a circle by linking their roots with each other and trapped the zombie dogs and the zombies inside. Only after that did Zhu Xianyi move forward and use her ability on the zombie dog. Seeing this, Wei Xiaobei nodded his head. Among his two disciples, Wei Xiaobei had a more favorable opinion of Zhu Xine. This was not only because the potential of her charm control, but more of how she understood proper action, awareness of caution, and willingness to take risks when it was necessary. If it was not necessary, she would do her utmost to ensure her own safety. In the strange dust world, having these traits would allow one to survive longer and also promote growth. On the other hand, Huang Kun was a bit impulsive. Naturally, this might be due to being younger, so his personality was not yet mature. After failing 3 times, Zhu Xine had successfully subdued the zombie dog. With the zombie dog, the weakness of speed in Zhu Xine's monsters had been made up. Xine, Huang Kun, come here. Wei Xiaobei suddenly noticed that a large group of zombies were majestically pressing on toward their direction. Among them, there were even a few zombie dogs. After shouting, Wei Xiaobei's expression changed, and he stomped on the roof. Bang! Crash! Crash! The sound of wood breaking echoed, followed by the sound of tiles breaking. At this moment, Wei Xiaobei used his 1,000-kilogram drop on the house. Then he leaned on the wall. Iron Mountain lean. Full power. The cemented brick wall was instantly smashed by Wei Xiaobei. A huge hole appeared as the bricks flew everywhere. This sound had startled Zhu Xine and Huang Kun. Luckily, they were moving with the saplings, so they were slower. Otherwise, the bricks would have injured them. Everyone get inside. Let the treeman saplings guard the place. Wei Xiaobei commanded and went into other rooms. He needed to inspect if there were holes inside other rooms as he wanted to prevent zombies from entering. Huang Kun walked at the very end and only entered the hole after the last sapling entered. At this moment, the group of zombie dogs and lickers had already approached quickly from the direction of the dojo. Without a doubt, Wei Xiaobei's decision was the right one. If they escaped toward the dojo, they would have bumped against these zombie dogs. When that happens, escape would be unlikely. Zhu Xine let the saplings block the hole and let the 2 zombies stand in front of it. After setting up the defensive position, Wei Xiaobei returned. There was only one exit to the house, but the exit was already blocked due to Wei Xiaobei blocking it with heavy objects. Even if the zombies wanted to enter from there, it would take them a long time before they could do so. After warning Zhu Xine and Huang Kun, Wei Xiaobei took out his great spear and used it to jump up the hole in the roof. Compared to Zhu Xine and Huang Kun, who only needed to deal with zombies and zombie dogs, Wei Xiaobei had to deal with the lickers that would enter from the rooftop. The lickers were fast and had already reached the road on the side. Wei Xiaobei kicked a few tile fragments and kicked them toward the lickers like bullets. The lickers had a fast reaction. Their bodies swayed and dodged the fragments that were about to penetrate their heads. However, they were not able to completely dodge them. Countless sharp fragments had directly punctured the lickers' bodies. Naturally, as long as their heads were not heavily injured, they would still be able to move even if their legs and arms were cut off. However, this attack had attracted their attention. 7 lickers stuck to the wall and moved up to the roof as they advanced toward Wei Xiaobei. Although the lickers might only be 2-star elite creatures, their threats were much more higher compared to gargoyles and dangkangs that were 2-star terror creatures. The main reason was that their tongues were simply too fast. They were like bullets which a moment's inattentiveness would cause holes to appear in the body. Moreover, the speed was so fast that even bullets from automatic weapons would not necessarily hit them. The sound from the trigger would have attracted their attention and allow them to dodge the bullet. Now that the number of lickers exceeded 5, their danger had increased several folds. Thus, Wei Xiaobei did not dare become careless while facing 7 lickers. He concentrated all his attention on hearing. Whoosh! 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 The lickers shot out their tongues like bullets at Wei Xiaobei. Wei Xiaobei's great spear moved like lightning and struck the 3 incoming tongues. He did not stop moving and continued to kick more tile fragments. In an instant, a liquor had been directly hit by the fragment in the brain. Its body swayed, and it fell down. However, in this exchange, Wei Xiaobei's thighs and arms had been grazed a few times by the liquors, causing blood to flow out. If he had not continued moving, his arms and legs would have already been filled with holes. Even if physical damage had been halved, the only difference against the tongue was being directly penetrated and being half penetrated. Both effects would have the same influence on him. It was clear that the liquors were a bit smarter than normal zombies. When Wei Xiaobei killed 2 more liquors, the remaining 4 made the same movement and retreated 20 meters away. They stared at Wei Xiaobei from afar, but they did not attack. On the other side of the battle, 3 zombie dogs had struck the treeman saplings and got caught in their trap. In an instant, they were bound firmly by the treeman saplings. Huang Kuan then went forward and cut their throats. Next, he twisted his machete and pulled, causing their necks to be largely cut off. For zombie dogs, having their necks cut did not mean death, but they would still lose a large part of their fighting power. The zombie dog that Zhu Xine controlled bit another zombie dog and tried to tear through its throat, pulling the muscle and veins apart. As for Zhu Xine, she immediately used charm control on the last zombie dog. Soon, Zhu Xine's face paled as she sat on the floor. She practiced the pillar stance to try and recover her fatigue. At this moment, the battle ended. 1 zombie dog had been beheaded, while the other one had been killed by the controlled 2. The treeman saplings then inserted their roots into the dead zombie dogs and excreted a liquid. The liquid melted the corpses of the zombie dogs and were sucked in by the saplings, allowing them to recover the broken roots. More than 20 zombie dogs advanced in waves. They entered the hole, and in the end, they were completely exterminated by Zhu Xine and Huang Kuan. Huang Kuan's state was still good, but his leg was bitten by a zombie dog. At that time, he immediately gritted his teeth and cut off the bitten part. Zhu Xine then wrapped it up with a piece of cloth. The 2 zombies guarding in front had already been torn to shreds by the zombie dogs. A green dwarf had been killed by the zombie dogs while it valiantly prevented them from reaching Zhu Xine. As for the saplings, their losses were also not light. At the very least, 3 of them had their roots torn so much that they had to retreat to the back and recover. Only the zombie dogs under Zhu Xine continuously increased. After eliminating all the zombie dogs that entered the hole, Zhu Xine had obtained control of 5 zombie dogs. It was also because of these zombie dogs that Huang Kuan and Zhu Xine could continue on when the group of zombies and zombie dogs approached.